Bing, bada, boom. Got that all right. Yeah, cool. Cool. All right. Alrighty. Let's see here. See what I shall do. Put it back on once here. There we go. What should I play? Probably get away with a little bit of this. Maybe. Let's see. Can I? Could I? No. Doesn't look like it. God damn it. I don't want to. Wish it could be the case. We'll just get the usual royalty-free shit up. Here, let's have some of this. Yeah. A little loud. Still a little loud. Alright. Into all the schwitz and the schwitz. Schwitz and the schwitz and the schwitz and the schwitz. Man. Oh, much better, much better. I'm just gonna have this in between my shirt and undershirt. Oh my god, that feels good. It feels good. Just let it slowly slide down and cool down the shirts. Yes. There we go. Oh, that felt nice. Wow, that actually significantly cooled down the shirts. Oh, nice. I'm actually gonna do it back here too, fuck it. Oh, this feels good. Yeah. Yeah, this actually is pretty nice. Oh, that actually felt pretty relieving. Just a nice, cool, unopened drink course through the in-between and the shirts. Because that shit feels nice. Ooh. Should definitely feel significantly cooled down now. Love that. Love it. Anyway. I think I'd get into the fun bit of news here in a little bit. And then delve into news. The usual bullshit news. Ooh, that felt good. Alright, I'm gonna finish this bowl from my last break, so I'll finish this real quick. Alright, cool. so he's feeling better. That's good.
I don't believe it. You weren't right in the way.
Because he's waiting for some treats that I have for him. Got a little little rawhide twist, a little bit of these little chicken jerky, little chips. It's gonna be nice and nice and spoiled out with some treats today. Or to say, at least for tonight. Oh, do I even really want the shirt on? You know what? Yeah. Honestly, it was shirt itself actually does pretty well with staying somewhat clean. This shirt's been already gruffed up a lot from my use of wearing it, and a lot of the actual hard stuff isn't actually stuck on there anymore. Outside a few spots. Stains, but you know. Nothing else besides that. I'm just glad that at least these shirts aren't that fugly. I just wish there was a fucking pocket. That'd be great if we had a little pocket, maybe some pen pockets on the side, maybe over here or something. That'd be nice. Little pen pocket right there. That'd be sick. And just a nice little breast pocket. Yeah. That's all that'd be needed. That's it. Just one breast pocket and some pen pockets on the shoulder right there. Boom. It's pretty much the only tweaks that I would have. And maybe at least have different color variants or something. Like white, blue, and reds and brown ones. Because I honestly would prefer having maybe a red or a brown versions of these. But nope. Has to be just bland corporate gray. And then either black, blue, or a khaki pants of some sort. It's just ew. So just conformified into just a blob, and it's just gross. It's I'd rather have a little flair to my shit. Thank you. They actually got me on about that shit. Fucking management straight up, last time I was working there, fucking got at me for all my fucking pins. And funny enough, I actually got compliments from customers today because of them too. One customer noticed this one right here, this little guy with the rainbow little mask on it. And on top of that, I've had people compliment me over this one, seeing obviously this one being fighting for labor union pin, shit like that, and they'll compliment them, but oh lord, I guess because they're not company approved, they're not allowed. And it's just bullshit, straight bullshit. Literally, what wouldn't technically be approved would be this one, and that one. I guess that one too, technically, but the rest of them are either union or corporate approved, which are both okay. And even then, these would technically be union approved, because this is a pin this is actually my new one. It's my little Power Duty union pin. That certainly would be union approved. So it's just a little silly that they want to get at me for having a little flare on my shirt. And not confined into being a little conformist, corporate little cog and shit. And it's just nah. I mean, fuck, if I could get away with it, I'd wear this just the entire time. I wouldn't give a shit. I mean, during the 4th of July, when I was barbecuing during that weekend, I was wearing this because it actually kind of aesthetically fit. People are oh, sweet, looking like a Minuteman or something today? And I'm just yeah, 4th of July weekend, bro. It's right on, cool, dude. So, I mean, it's absurd. Honestly, if they did let us have a little bit of leeway, on at least some attire and shit, just based on, customer interactions, they probably would, get a little bit more service, or at least a little bit more, casual, positive customer service relations. Because if you have like customers that are, complimenting, what you're wearing, or like a pin that you have on, or stuff like that, wouldn't that be a good thing? Because then you're also just partially brightening everybody's mood doing that, and also making that worker feel at least a little better about their day and a work day. So it's just like, I mean, wouldn't that be a good idea? But no, we have to make sure our workers suffer. They must suffer. They're not allowed to have a little flair and have a little, have personality that makes them stick out from another worker. No, we can't allow that. So absurd. I mean, one thing I really exceptionally don't get is that, like, as long as there's nothing, like, outright vulgar or, like, heavily politically, like, opinionated for what you're wearing, whether it's a pin or a piece of clothing or, like, a hat, I mean, I don't really think it should matter that much as long as it's, okay for the actual workplace itself. Like, I mean, this hat would totally be fine, where I work at my department. Same with just the store in general. I mean, but, like, if I had, like, a fuck cops hat or something like that, that'd be a little different. Or if I had a pin that said ACAP, that'd be a little different. So it's, like, obviously, it's, I can see the line, at least when it comes to a workplace, versus not. But for just, like, union pins and shit, I mean, who gives a fuck? Like, if you're a unionized workplace, you got every right to have union pins. Don't let no fucking straw boss, say otherwise. I mean, our union is openly said, it's like, yeah, you have every right, and defend it, when you can't wear union-based type of attire at work. Like, because if you're, part of the union and the workplace, you can wear pins and attire from us as well within that workplace. If, the boss wants to say otherwise, then they could eat a dick. Like, if I wanted to wear a hat that had, like, my union logo on it, I could do that instead of wearing the company logo. Like, absolutely. Which actually I want to. I want to find out where I can get, like, a little union hat. Because that'd actually be pretty cool. I wonder if they have, like, winter versions of the hats. But either way, it's just, like, it's ridiculous. If anything, I also wouldn't mind having, like, a union shirt, too, because I just wear that to work, too. When I want to put this in the wash, just wear the union shirt instead. Which will be blue instead of gray, but oh no. It's not like anyone else is wearing blue there at work too. Like, half of the fucking people, especially managers, are wearing whatever the fuck they can wear when it comes to a nice little dress-up shirt. Everyone else down below them can't. Got these. Which again aren't that bad. They actually aren't uncomfortable. They're actually pretty comfortable. But still, they're annoying. That, I mean, mainly just because it's just one thing and that's it. It's like you can't have like different colors or, or even like a little extra flair, like a pocket, pen pocket or something like that on the side. Those little things count. Because that, especially at a workplace like ours, that's just utilitarian. Alright, let's see what else, or like what other stuff I can check out here in a little bit. After I tell off the more fun news. Oh, you know what? I know there's actually a lot of shit from the Humans Report that I want to check out. This isn't necessarily good shit. I suppose on a certain level I could fucking maybe go into it first, get some gnarly shit out of the way first. Like the scum fuckery that is Fox News and the fascist fuckery that is Nick Fuentes. And honestly, Nick Fuentes, like, that motherfucker is just like another level of deranged and psychopathic. And frankly, just like a fucking lowly little scumbag rat ball. Like, his shit is truly exceptional. Here, respond to a thing here real quick. Bam, 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 boom. Come on. Yeah, boom. Okay, no. So it's even. Same it on here either. Boom, spit out the good news there. Cool. Alright, so cool. Kivleo. Boom. I'm legit honestly pretty stoked about some information about work here. There's actually some of the news I want to get into. Because, for like the longest time we've had this fucking sort of right. I mean, especially if anyone's been watching streams long enough, they fucking know that this sword director that I got is just basically a fucking careless, doesn't really give a shit besides, one thing only, maximizing his salary and bonuses and profits for the store and shit. You're really not giving an iota of a fuck about the worker. And at this point, there's been so many fucking complaints at the fact that fucking this store director has basically been shit, not just from customers, but from workers too, and former and current. And now, I've essentially replaced the management. So, starting this Sunday, we got new store management, which I am just so fucking excited about, because I definitely want to get on their good side and try to figure out, see if I can absolve some of these wage issues with them, being able to be on their good side, and and be, if anything, let me have an incentive to actually probably even stick around a little longer, because maybe the new management might be able to, address a lot of the fucking problems that have been going on, not just for our department, but with, with other departments. And the store in general. So, I'm hoping that, this management actually gives a shit enough to actually, hear and address, a lot of concerns that we have. Because frankly, it's just like, I mean, if that's like the main issue of what's been complained about, it's just not having like, working conditions improved and having our issues addressed and our grievances addressed, by the management, then at that rate, something's got to give, and there needs to be management that comes into place that actually addresses that shit. I mean, there's always the likelihood it's probably going to be same boss as the new boss, same as the old boss. But I mean, honestly, all in all, chances are I probably won't. But here, do this. Yeah, okay. That's what I like about Streamlabs. They can actually update info and shit. Yeah, anyone can watch? Yeah, obviously. Anybody? Category. Yeah, this is probably what I need to change. Yeah. There we go. Oh, look at Zoro. You're so cute. You're such a pretty handsome boy. Why are you so sweet? Look at you. You got the face of innocence. Ugh. Man, honestly, it's just been far too, long, and like too much of like a long thing coming to finally get, new management in place. Because it's just been way too fucking ridiculous having to deal with a lot of the shit that, like, I mean, that was just not addressed and not, really cared about. And if anything, like, when it came to them coming around and checking out our departments, it's always about shit that doesn't really fucking matter. Like, oh, maybe you can like face, the front, like the front, or dust down some of the cases, and displays and shit like that. And it's like, does any of this like fucking matter? It's like, I mean, we have we got like, half of like, an entire department to be dealing with right now when it comes to like doing things like production, doing things like fucking keeping up with our current hot case and shit, cleaning, all this other shit. Like the fucking like actual like front display areas and shit where everything is at, for all of our floor items and shit. Like, that's not exactly the biggest of a concern. Besides, that's more of the managerial things for our department, where our manager and assistant manager address primarily. And if they don't get it done, they don't expect us to deal with that shit. Because we don't. So, why, like, all of a sudden, especially when they're not there, to come to us being like, oh, hey, why aren't this being done? It's like, I don't know, fucking ask the managers that you're supposed to be communicating with. And seeing, what, could be done to help, maybe, deal with these type of issues and actually work with them. But, no. Not like that. But that's why I'm just so happy that this fucking management's just, like, gone. And, it's just sudden, like, what I love about it is just so sudden. Like, yesterday, it was more rumor mill than coming into work, and I'm like, hey, what was about that, new management things? Yeah, started Sunday, new management. I'm just like, oh, it's just like, fuck, yeah, oh, man, oh, give me some more, baby, let's go. It's like, all that shit, like, all of the fucking bullshit. Do you know what's replacing them? I know our second store manager actually did start today and got trained in a little bit, and the second director is out. She left today. And so I haven't seen him, but I'm not too sure how he is. The new store manager is apparently a lady about like 30 something, I think, and that's pretty much about as far as I know right now. Which honestly, in my mind, implies younger person probably understands more of the plight of the average person, maybe. And, is probably more likely to actually work with us, especially considering the complaints our management currently has had. So, if they're replacing the management properly, then they're going to very likely have somebody who's going to be addressing those fucking issues, which is nothing but a positive. Like, honestly, I wouldn't give a fuck if the store director, honestly, in some ways was a little bit more strict about things. If they actually, did fixed some shit up and actually turned the place around a little bit and actually made it a decent fucking place to work at again. Because that's honestly why, you know, like, you know, I've, you know, stuck around for a minute. It was, you know, because for me, it was, at least in what I've noticed, was like, you know, from, I'd say when I first started there around like 2015, like, things are actually alright, you know, there would be some bullshit, but it'd be manageable. And then, you know, maybe like about like 2017-ish, you know, things would be kind of struggling a little bit, but we still would be able to, you know, adapt and figure it out and hold our own. You know, have times where we would be heavily understaffed and then, you know, be good and hella staffed again. And then have points where we're understaffed again. You know, we'll have our peaks and valleys for those years and shit. And then basically since maybe just before COVID hit, but like around late 2019, but especially around like fucking 2020, everything just started going fucking downhill, like, and just no peak in sight. And honestly, it's only been up until this year is when things have either started plateauing or are now starting to go back up again. And it's actually nice to notice a little bit. Because it actually makes me less, you know, thinking like, oh, if I'm just going to have management in a company that won't give a fuck, then fuck it. But if, you know, there's now a new management and they're actually going to maybe give a shit, then I would actually have a sense of being like, alright, they're going to work with me more, and they're actually going to make sure I get what I deserve when it comes to my pay and all this other shit. And I can at least stick around a little bit more and, you know, kind of, you know, like, you know, just, you know, let it, you know, play around a little longer and see where it goes for, you know, a bit. Because, I mean, especially with how things were going, like, there was no way in fucking hell I was going to stay long. But, I mean, I'll see. I'll give it like a month and see how things play. You know, so if things definitely, you know, like if things haven't really, you know, turned around with new management within like a month, then I'm gonna probably start, you know, maybe seeing the writing on the wall and be like, uh-oh. But I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm happy about it nonetheless, because finally because either way, yeah, like, less boomerish, less stuck up, you know, and I mean, a more fresher, newer person, so they're more likely to maybe listen to us to maybe help understand how to be a better store manager to themselves, you know, being more of a newer manager. So, I mean, honestly, in my mind, it all seems really good. I mean, also, it could be like some sociopathic piece of shit that, you know, just like got in there, you know, on good whims and shit, like with nepotism or something, and now it's just, you know, plopped there, you know, with like a good little bonus, you know, to sit on or something, and it's gonna pretty much be the same boss, old boss shit. But I mean, I don't know. Well, that's why I said I'll give it like a month and see. I'll, you know, fish out how, you know, how this new manager, or at least new management overall, will work out. I'll have to, you know, see how everyone else feels about it, because honestly, I mean, I could tell everyone felt a little bit more happier today, and felt a little bit more, you know, giggly, you know, like, I guess, like, bubbly, I suppose. I was noticing that, a little bit more of a bubbly feeling in people today. I definitely feel it, so, I mean, honestly, they even had a little celebration for themselves. They, on the house, you know, with them, they got a, you know, whole little cake in the break room for everyone to have and stuff as, like, a little farewell thing, and we're like, yay, thanks, bud. Cake on you? Cool, thanks, sweet. Wish you gave us a little more, or maybe, like, I don't know, why can't you, like, give us all $100 from your last little bonus or something like that as a little parting gift, you bastard, but okay. That works, too. I mean, hell, like a gift card to the store or something, like, I mean, you know, it's like, you know, show that at least maybe at least show a fake sense of caring. Here's like a $20 gift card. Here's a $5 gift card for the Starbucks and, you know, for the kiosk. Get yourself a free coffee, bucko. Not that many employees in the store, he could have done it. He has one more day, so maybe he will. That'd be actually a decent little, like, charitable, like, alright, farewell thing. Even if it was just like a little Starbucks, it'll be a little salting, but it'd be like, alright. At least you were trying to show like you gave a fuck, I guess, but low-key, yeah, fuck you anyway. I mean, either way though, I'm actually still pretty shocked about it, because this should have happened a long time ago, and frankly, I mean, there's been talk within the store in the past about wanting to strike, even with me, and I've even, you know, had like, you know, background radiation starting to discuss it and shit. But then they, you know, management would be like, oh, okay, for like a week, we'll start giving a fuck, and then just stop giving a shit again. So it's just like, they would always, you know, try to placate as much as possible, but there was always, you know, just this back and forth of like, oh, we're all gonna leave, or even walk out, you know, and this shit, because they're not doing anything, and they would give a fuck for like a second, and then stop, hoping that would placate people. And I guess at this point, the back and forth got a little too much, you know, for, you know, one party, and now at this point, I kind of wish it went out with a bang a little bit. Like, I mean, I kind of wish it gotten so bad that corporate didn't do this, you know, and, you know, people just legit did do a walkout, because, I mean, I've had it kind of planned for a bit, and, you know, I've had a lot of people kind of, you know, not like full on, but kind of verbal agreement, like, yeah, you know, we'll like orchestrate a thing, you know, once we feel like the time has come type of shit. You know, so, you know, but knowing this stuff though, I mean, it's nice. I mean, though, honestly, knowing that, like, you know, you don't have to, like, you know, get to the point of, like, a walkout or a strike and shit, I mean, it's honestly a good thing anyway. I mean, because, I mean, that's not necessarily, like, the first tool you want to grab out of the toolbox when it comes to labor action and shit, but, I mean, when it comes to, like, hey, it's kind of like, you know, it's time type of shit, you know, that, you know, the tool's gonna be there. Like, honestly, like, I mean, when they were getting, I mean, for my fucking pins, I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like this shit fucking union pins, like, these aren't, you know, and corporate pins too, like, straight up, like, this is, you know, this is the union approved one, these are all corporate approved one, well, this is union approved one, but these are straight up corporate ones, these are like how long I've fucking been there. This is corporate approved, I literally got this in the break room. Like, the only ones that aren't are these two, this one, and these two tiny ones that barely anyone notices. So, it's just like, I mean, it's like, fuck off. Which, all of them, outside of this one, maybe, are union approved. Like, this one's just a little cap with a little pride bandana mask thing. So, it's just like, I mean, you know, I mean, it's like, give me crap. It's so absurd. And pretty much all of them, I guess, outside of that one, and even then, this one still likely be union approved, or at least company approved, because it's like, I mean, it's pride, and also the cat's more tinged to old labor symbolism, because of the IWW. The IWW had the Tabby Cat, or the Sabo Cat, which, in its original form, I actually could find it. I know what it looks like. So let's go on Google real quick. That card, cat. There it is. So that's the original IWW cat, but, you know, future iterations also had, like, ones that, you know, have the one, like, a little cat with a bandana on. So, I mean, it's tangential towards that. Your old managers will be crying into shitty beer at Applebee's. Good, I hope they do. I mean, honestly, at least, you know, for the main store manager, that'd be too rich for his blood. He'd probably be crying into, like, you know, some bougie-ass margarita at his little golf club. Apparently, though, I found out he is actually kind of a rural guy. He actually does, like, going hunting, fishing, and shit, apparently. So, you know, you know what? He probably would, you know, find some random, like, you know, hunter's bar in, like, you know, some sort of rural town or some shit. Fucking liar. Oh. My bonuses are gonna be no more. Honestly, like, I want to know where they are going, though. Because, frankly, it's not that they're really... like, chances are they're probably getting stepped up somewhere else. Or just moving to different stores. So, frankly, it's just like... You know, it's not like they're probably losing their positions. They're just likely moving to a different store where they're, you know, someone else is going to have to deal with their fucking shit. Or they got a better fucking job, you know, somewhere up the chain. I mean, knowing the main store manager, he's actually one of these dudes who actually did, you know, work for the company pretty much, you know, from the ground up. You know, but he uses that as essentially like, oh, if I could, you can't too, type of thing. You know, like the whole conservative mentality of like, I made it, so you can't too. Ugh. But pretty much will prohibit you from actually doing that in the first place anyway. So it's just like, man, oof. So if I understand, he initially started as like courtesy, then worked his way up to, you know, being like a, yeah, into deli, and then like a deli manager, and then like, you know, a main PIC for a while, and then he apparently, you know, eventually became like a store director, and was just that for like the longest time. So chances he probably moved up. Oh, well, you do really good trying to maximize profits. Why didn't you come in and be an executive for the company? One of the district executives. You can make a lot more bonuses here. Man. I will say, though, you know, I hope that, you know, when it comes to the new management that, you know, they actually do you know, at least put some options of, you know, wanting to, you know, peruse around and check out, you know, the place and, you know, say hello and just get introduced to the workers and shit. I mean, honestly, fuck, I'll just do it myself, frankly. I'll just be like, hey, you know, do you know if they happen to be working today? You know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, they're probably in their office. I'll be like, oh, cool. You know, I'm probably just gonna, you know, introduce them and shit. I'm not sure, I'll just probably do that. Yeah, as a way to, you know, address my whole wage situation. Because, I mean, if I, you know, can start on good terms with her, especially being here, being a worker there for so long, she'll probably be like, oh god, the management wasn't doing that, you know, and all this, like, oh goodness, like, here, let me fix that for you, you know, so I can keep you around, especially if you've been around and been such a good worker, and, you know, you can be vouched, you know, blah blah blah, you know. So it's just like, I don't know, I hope I can legitimately get kind of on the good terms, because that'd be actually pretty legit. Because maybe I can potentially be, like, not like a full-on like, assistant manager position, but maybe like a fill-in assistant manager, like, with a little extra pay, maybe. But I don't know, I'll have to see if I could, you know, see if I can work something like that out. Because that'd actually be pretty dope. I mean, fuck, especially if we're getting a pay increase in August and shit. I mean, honestly, you know, being paid, like, 1953 or some shit like that. I mean, fuck me. That, oh yes, please. That's some cheddar right there. So, yeah, I'll give it at least, you know, about like a month or so and see what happens. Let's see what's on the tube now. What do you got, Kyle? He hasn't uploaded anything today. Damn you, Kyle. It's a Friday. You're supposed to upload shit today. What the fuck, Kyle? Come on, Klinsky. Come on there, Mr. Klinsky. What a son of a bitch. Uvalde parents react to shooting footage leak. Oh boy. I honestly was seeing a lot of that footage and shit, and it's just fucking, like, barbarically appalling. Like, of how the fucking just cops did fuck all. Like, one of them was literally on the phone, apparently with his wife, who got shot and was dying. And instead of, I don't know, maybe acting emotionally, like, with rage and shit, like the fucking hog that he is, and charge in there like a fucking bull and take out the shooter, and then, you know, on top of saving his wife, a bunch of children. You know, and then there was another one, apparently, who, you know, had one of his, you know, I think it was the other child or spouse shot, who was also, like, you know, on the phone as well, you know, hanging back and shit. And then, like, a lot of these cops, once, you know, they were all kind of hanging back, were all just, you know, some of them looked like they were one to kind of push in, but, you know, a few cops were actually like, no, hold on, wait, we gotta, like, time this right. It's just like, what the, it's like, what, oh my god. And pretty much, from what I was looking at the video and footage with the cops there in school, it basically looked like they were just waiting for the assumption it looked like was like, oh, he'll just surrender, or he'll just keep, you know, shoot himself, you know, or at some point, now that we're here. It's like, no, not every shooter has that mentality. Some of them will stick around expecting a fight and want it in some cases. I mean, not every shooter is going to be out there, you know, it's like, oh, cops are here, bleh, you know, or just like, oh, better surrender. Like, not all of them are fucking like that. But they just had the assumption of, like, probably the, like, oh, it never happens here, but, oh, because, you know, this is, like, some lone wolf guy, maybe he will just, you know, come out and, you know, and surrender or something like that, or whatever. It's just like, give me a fucking break. Like, I've honestly noticed that there are legitimately Republicans out there, or at least, you know, some conservative people out there that, like, I was even noticing in some comment sections on some of these videos about this whole, like, leaked footage shit, where it's like, some Republicans are basically been making comments like, man, we've been, like, you know, crucifying the left about being anti-cop for years and shit, but, I mean, now they're actually kind of having, you know, it's like, honestly, they've been having a point, and because look at this, I mean... If, you know, some random small town, you know, bundle of cops are like this, I mean, how many other police departments are really like this? I mean, maybe they actually did have a point. And it's like, and when I see and hear, like, stories like that, and I even see it within my own experiences, too. Like, I know people are more conservative leaning, and hell, even definitely more pro-cop leaning. They're just like, this shit's fucked up, and it's kind of opened their eyes and realized, oh shit, yeah, there's all this, so these other problems of cops, wow, holy fuck. I mean... It's just like, I mean, sometimes it just really does take a very fundamental reality check like that, you know, for some people. And it's, I mean, what's even more fucked and egregious is that there are people as well that look at that and maybe initially get the reaction, but then later will be like, yeah, no, it's getting first flag was fake. But bullshit. Cops actually did do what their job at. It's just like, what? It's like, motherfucker, like, it's, what, you really think it's just some few bad apples when you have, like, half or more of the entire Uvalde Police Department there doing fuck all? And then it was a Border Patrol agent that fucking, you know, put him down? It's like, get fucked, man. It's like, realize with some of your other conservative brothers and sisters that, you know, like, you know, maybe, you know, like, suckling up that, you know, cop boot isn't exactly, you know, the best thing, and, you know, for your own interests. Because even if you, you know, might be, you know, one of these thin blue line leading motherfuckers and shit, it's like, you know, maybe one of these days that your child might be at a school shooting and the cops aren't going to do a fucking thing. And if anything, they're going to try to stop you from trying to save, you know, your children, maybe other kids too in the process. Because there was plenty of parents in Uvalde that, frankly, I would have been absolutely fine, and I think should have been allowed, you know, for the parents themselves to go in there and try to fucking stop the shooting themselves if they, you know, were that fucking willing. Because obviously, if you're a parent and you're hearing about, you know, a school that your kid is at, you know, being shot up, like, like, if I was a parent, yeah, I would bring my pistol and fucking try to save my child, and, you know, while I'm at it, take the shooter down if cops ain't doing shit. You know, but if the cops are there by the time I arrive already doing things, then I'll leave it in a car and hope that try to make sure that my kid's secure and safe. You know, but, I mean, that's one reason why I never want kids, because I don't want to have that fucking shit in the back of my mind anyway. I mean, one major fundamental issue about a lot of these mass shootings and shit isn't necessarily the fact that, like, the guns are accessible, but is the response to them, honestly, at this point. Because if there's, it's not even this case, but there's also in, like, Parkland, where there's, like, a cop already on the scene at the school, because it was, like, one of those school cops and shit that are, you know, patrolling the school instead. And he literally just, like, bitched out and ran away. Like, there's been other times where cops have been, you know, at school shootings or other mass shootings and fucking literally would run away like a bitch. So, or just hold back and stand back. And just like, you know, it's just like, stand back and stand by. Instead of actually taking action. So, it's like, honestly, next time, like, one of these shootings happens, like, I would not be surprised if we hear about, like, you know, the next school shooting that happens, like, parents being the ones, you know, to actually, you know, take out the shooter. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't been the case. I know it has been, at times. I think there was, like, a shooting in Texas, funny how there's so many shootings there. But there was a church in Texas that was being shot at, and what happened with that, with this guy, was essentially some people at the church happened to have some guns on them, and they started returning fire on the guy, and he fled, and then the cops arrived and caught up with him, and I think at that point took out the suspect. So it's just like, I mean, at that point, it's like, who really did their job more? Like, the fucking, you know, cops, or the people that actually, you know, like, were getting shot at and were like, oh, fuck. I don't want to kind of die because, you know, cops aren't going to be here in time, or really do fuck all anyway, potentially. So, you know, might as well at least try to take, you know, some matters in my own hands in this case. And it really shouldn't have to be that way. But considering how cops are just so fucking worthless, and aren't even willing to, you know, like, stand up and actually have some balls when it comes to a fucking shooting, you know, then it's just like, I mean, what the fuck? What are people supposed to rely on for protection at that point? Just, like, the might of, like, you know, some sort of random just mind power that they can just, like, stop a bullet if they almost get, you know, from getting shot? Like, I mean... I mean, I guess it's some part of the reason why, you know, especially when cases like this happens, there, you know, are people that go out of their way to buy guns because of this shit. It's not a good justification, fucking honestly. I mean, but, I mean, it's the reason why, honestly, there are people out there that do that. I mean, it's not really my reason, but, I mean, especially lately, I mean, at least when it comes to, you know, the ideology of Christo-fascists and shit like that, it's definitely one main reason why I would probably be more likely to personally carry outside of not. Because, yeah, if these type of motherfuckers, you know, decide to enact violence, especially on a protest or like a rally or like a pride event or something like that, I mean, yeah, I don't want to be a sin duck. And I also, if, you know, the opportunity, you know, sees itself, you know, be able to prevent, you know, more people from being killed. Does that mean, you know, I'm going to try to be fucking John Rambo? No, if I don't have any immediate, you know, sense of, like, you know, what's going on, yeah, I'm just going to fucking flee. You know, I'm not going to be a goddamn idiot and see myself as some hero. That's why if the opportunity sees it. You know, like, but it's just like, I mean, no one should have to fucking, like, think about these things. I mean, especially with me being a far lefty queer person, I mean, there's a lot of extra type of things I have to worry about, honestly, when it comes to a lot of these type of far right people, especially when they go out of the way to, you know, come to my town and fuck shit up. Honestly, earlier today, like, I saw separately 2 different trucks that had, like, American flags on them. One of them was, like, some sort of, like, you know, straight up, you know, some sort of, like, imperialist symbolism of, like, the eagle, like a shield, and, like, you know, one, you know, claw is the sword, and the other one is, you know, with the bundle of arrows and shit. And then, like, all over the back of the truck was, like, Thin Blue Line shit, the Punisher shit, you know, all this other garbage shit. And it's like, I mean, you got, like, I mean, these fascist yokel motherfuckers who, you know, especially when the summer comes out, want to get out in their little fascist big rig, little tiny dick trucks, and fucking flex their ideology on, you know, and shit on everybody like that. Which doesn't exactly make me feel fucking safe, you know, to a degree. But at the same time, I also feel like, you know, they're a bunch of comical yokel fucking chuckle fucks anyway. Because I guarantee you they're probably getting there, going to the store and shit to buy a bunch of fucking Bud Light. Or some other gross piss water shit. I mean, it's just like, but, I mean, that's literally, like, within walking distance where I'm seeing this shit. You know, from my home. And it's just like, I mean, if these type of people were, you know, like, willing to try to enact their control and push their type of ideology, especially when it came to, like, you know, more of a, you know, like, you know, a violent type of skirmish when it came to, like, you know, rise of fascism in this country, then it's just like, yeah, they're very, you know, they're very likely, you know, to be coming out of their way to, you know, to, you know, harm people in, you know, communities like mine and shit. Makes me fucking fearful. I also wouldn't be the only one to have, you know, something like, you know, pride flags and shit like that, you know, hanging out my house and shit. I have plenty of neighbors that do that themselves. And it's just like, I mean, if these motherfuckers are trying to enact a way and instill their own little vigilante, you know, squad justice and shit, you know, when it comes to their fucking ideas and shit, especially around here, considering how progressive and left it is. I mean, yeah, so, like, I'm not gonna be standing around for that shit. I mean, that's why the whole idea of trying to get you to know your neighbors and stuff is very important. Because you also want to let your neighbors know that you're also kind of willing to protect them and shit. And, you know, if, like, you know, things in their community, you know, go haywire and they, you know, might be at jeopardy, or, like, just community might be at jeopardy, or let them know that you're, you know, you're out there for them. Being like, hey, you know, it's like, if you need something, you know, I'm down the street, or I'm, like, right next door. If you need anything, let me know. That type of shit. I mean, there's definitely, you know, a lot of aspects about, you know, knowing your neighbors that are very important, because it also especially heavily instills a sense of trust to where you can, yeah, at that point, actually, you know, be able, you know, if whatever, for whatever reason, whether it's like climate catastrophe, political instability, whatever have you, be able to at least connect with your neighbors better and be able to, you know, have a little bit more of a stronger grip with each other. So if you got, like, you know, like some sort of, you know, like political vigilantes or some shit coming after you, or, you know, someone in your neighborhood or something, and then, you know, who they are, and you can, you know, stand up for them. Or people will stand up for you. Even if they don't even necessarily agree with you 100%. Oh, you know, I was gonna check out some stuff in the news report. Which one to check out first? Nick Fuentes' Vision for America, or Fox News hosts officially attacking doctor who gives abortions? Which sounds very reminiscent to, you know, what Bill O'Reilly was doing with his shit about his whole, like, baby killer fucking nonsense, which got an abortion doctor murdered by one of these fucking far-right supremacists and shit that, you know, was one of these forced birthers. Which one's more vile and disgusting and vehement, and, like, vehemently repulsive you have to check out? I wonder. Boy, ain't no sleepy boy. What you doing over there? Little goof? Oh, silly boy. Want to delve in. I'm thinking the Nick Fuentes thing is looking a little juicy, especially considering, you know, how much like of like an outright far-right theocratic fascist white supremacist that he is. Like, this dude pretty much has, like, no care in the world about, you know, just saying his views and his ideas just openly and proudly. I mean, frankly, considering what his vision is for America, like, I'm only okay with it as long as it is specifically for just him and nobody else. I guess he'll probably need a few people to be hired and heavily compensated to essentially lord over him, you know, for his society, but I mean, we can compensate him very handsomely, and, you know, ensure that he lives, you know, the society that he wants to the fullest, but just at the most bottomless, lowest rung of his hypothetical hierarchical society, you know, and just see if he likes it. Because I have a guarantee that it has something to do with hyper, like, Christo-fascist, like, feudalistic style monarchy, you know, that's very white ethnocentric. Something like that, if I decide to take a random guess of what Nick Fuentes is all about. I'll at least get that bowl smoked before we get into this little fuck. It's been a while since we checked the Nick Fuentes clip anyway. Need to make sure I have that in me. Alright. Oh my
So
god.
we've talked about Nick Fuentes on the program before, but if you've never heard of him, this is someone who is a Nazi with a penchant for booger eating. And I'm not joking about that.
Oh god, oh man, why is he doing this? Oh no. Okay.
That video, but I have to.
Yeah, he did that once.
Talking about Nick Fuentes, it is incredibly relevant. So you have to grasp the totality of what is Nick Fuentes, and I feel like if I exclude that video, you're just not going to be able to understand where he's coming from. So I'm so sorry. I'd argue it's necessary. Now, we've gotten glimpses into his vision for the
It's
United
not, but okay.
States, and what he's told us, it's genuinely unhinged and horrifying. He says that he wants a version of the United States that's similar to the Taliban, albeit a Christian version, because he believes that the way that they treat women is an approximation of what he wants here in the United States. But in a recent airing of his show, picked up by Right Wing Watch, he talked a little bit more at length about what he wants, and it is genuinely horrifying. So take a look.
We have got to talk about the fundamentals of our worldview and what it would look like to build a society based on our distinct worldview, which is different from the left, different from a godless,
No shit.
atheist, constructivist, liberal worldview.
Oh man, that sounds nice outside of the, I guess, liberal part of it. But yeah, everything else sounds pretty cool. Okay, anyway.
Look like? Does that look like a society where you have gay marriage and birth control and contraceptives and legal, ubiquitous internet pornography?
Wow, yeah, so horrible things. Oh my god, what a travesty. Oh.
And all the rest, but transgender kids aren't playing in girls' water polo? No.
What?
That's not what it looks like. It looks like a society where women don't have the right to vote. And it looks like a society where boys and girls get married as teenagers and start having kids. And
What?
and they don't use birth control, and they don't use contraceptives, and they have big families and a high birth rate. And it looks like women wearing veils at church. And it looks like women not being in the workforce. And it looks like... raising their kids, and it looks like pornography being banned, and homosexuality and transsexuality, as well as heterosexual sodomy, as well as fornication and adultery being shamed by the society, and maybe in some places, in some jurisdictions, regulated by the law. It's not enough to say we're against you gotta be against women's rights too. It's not enough to be against blue-haired feminism, you gotta be against women getting educated. Okay? Or else, what are we really trying to
Can we forbid you from just being in society?
achieve here? 1999? 1999 sucked too. We want to go back to 10...
Says who? Like a lot of cool music came out of that era. Like, I mean, there was some cool shit that came out of it. It's like, fuck you, you little schmuck. You wouldn't know anything about the goddamn 90s if it hit you in the face, bitch.
I want to go back to the Middle Ages. So, we're
So amazing.
burning your gay pride flag. We're burning your gay pride float. And then we're going to
Well, yeah, we're also burning your Nazi flags and your little Nazi floats, too, so...
drag your bitch wife out of her house, kicking and screaming. And
We'll drag your bitch ass, too, don't worry.
then we're going to burn her at the stake, too, for being a witch.
Oh, well, we'll do that, too, in Minecraft, but, you know... Yeah, but you're because you're just literally a repulsive scumfuck, and wow, what a great society. Let's just go back to the era of, like, the Salem witch trials in 1099, where everyone was, like... had like fucking, you know, borderline like gout and like, you know, was like, you know, like just like one slight little like scrape away from getting like gangrene and like dying from like, you know, and also have like some sort of other abhorrent like disease from eating like bad meat or some shit, like, or just getting raided and pillaged by like some fucking band of bandits or like, you know, an enemy kingdom that, you know, you didn't know was at war with and shit because the lord was a bitch or something like that. So the other kingdom was like, yo, fuck this lord bitch, and fucking like started like attacking your shit and didn't even like, I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's like, give me a break here, bro. Like, oh yeah, what a great society to live in. Yeah, you know what? I'd be okay with it if you were literally the only one that had lived like that. Outside of, like, people heavily compensated to make sure you did. You know, that, you know, can carry on the LARP for you there, bucko. And you have to be, like, some lordly little serf. And then fucking, you know, have, like, some people, you know, just, like, be a ran of, like, you know, bandits of, like, you know, like the Vikings or some shit. Like, you got, like, you know, goddamn, like, Ivar the Boneless coming out of nowhere fucking raiding your shit, bitch. Like, you know, it's like, nah, You don't get it easy if you want that fucking life there, motherfucker. Like, implying that, like, he also saying this like he would be, like, you know, like a noble or some shit. It's like, you'd literally be a fucking little serf tilling a goddamn field like the little peasant that you are, bitch. I mean, I would too. I ain't saying nothing about it, but at least, you know, I understand it and recognize that. Like, yeah, I would too, but fuck. Recognizing that, I would at least try to make the most of it and probably be a more successful peasant than you would be, motherfucker. Because I would go in that mindset, understanding that shit, bitch.
We often joke about how
Fucking little degenerate. Like, I mean, when it comes to, like, with, like, the mentality of things like the F-Story, especially, like, this guy, like, he would use that shit for people who he seems as, like, gay degenerate, but, like, frankly, especially these days, like, whenever I think of that word, it literally, the first thing that comes to my mind is... Well, not Mike, but this bitch. This motherfucker. I mean, the word that rhymes with maggot. Like, I mean, this is the motherfucker. This is like the motherfucker that first comes in my head when I think of that. Because, I mean, fundamentally, he is. He just fucking is. Like, this little fucking bitch, you know, is such a hyper insecure little fucking gay boy that he will go on, like, little Nazi fucking catboy dates and shit, you know, and, you know, spew literal fucking Nazism. He's like Ernst Röhm, you know, like in like the Third Reich and shit, you know, once he started getting to power. It's like, oh, he'll be a part of the fucking little circle and shit, yeah, but as soon as, like, the actual fucking Nazis get in power, guess who's gonna be fucking, you know, cut off as a loose end there, bitch? People like you, Fuentes. Because, one, you're not pure white, because you're, you know, partially Hispanic, and also you're a very closeted gay fuck. Like, you're going to be one of the first people that are going to be taken out, bitch. Like, when it comes, like, I mean, it's like, you're a fucking Nazi, Nick Fuentes, you should know. I mean, what, you don't read a book about what happened to, like, Ernst Röhm and other Nazi homosexuals within the Nazi party? Like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, Ernst Röhm was really, like, you know, framed and fucking put in prison and then fucking killed off and shit. Not saying that he was a good guy, but, you know, because he was literally the head of the SA before it became the SS, but, I mean, fuck. I mean, just, like, I don't know, read a book there, fucking Fuentes. Because, yeah, the same shit would happen to you. And guess what? I'd say the same thing about you as I am about Ernst Röhm, because guess what? You're not a good guy, but that's what fucking happened. So, Darwin Award goes to Ernst Röhm, and also it would go to you if fascists like you actually were to get into power, because, yeah, you'd be on the list, bitch.
Being a witch.
So you know how we often joke about how the right wants to take us back to the Middle Ages with their social views? Nick Fuentes is unironically saying, quote, we want to go back to the Middle Ages. And, I mean, he's honest about that. His vision would include a country where women don't have the right to vote, child marriage, forced birthing, women wearing veils at church, and I'm assuming being forced to attend church, women not...
And also, not being educated as well. Forgot that. I'm sure you'd probably say it. Essentially, literally seeing women as, like, either the equivalent of or even less than of, like, a little child. Not even just a child, but, like, a little child. Like, you know, like a fucking, like, 4-year-old or something. I mean, it's just like, oh, they're just like this little, you know, like, you know, skimpy little wimpy little property that you must take care of like a little tiny flower. I mean, honestly, that's kind of where the whole, like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, sometimes, you know, women can be kind of fragile as a flower type of thing. It's kind of where that came from a little bit. It's because, like, oh, you know, it's like, You know, you don't want your property getting all damaged. You know, you don't want your beautiful flowers getting all damaged, right? Well, you wouldn't want her either. You know, you want her to be all pristine so she could be, you know, an incubator for you. Yes.
Porn being banned. Interestingly enough, though, being gay or trans and being an adulterer, because those are in the same category according to Nick Fuentes, that wouldn't necessarily be criminalized, maybe in certain jurisdictions, but that would just be shamed.
Gay!
I mean, he's talked about how being with a woman before is gay, so there's a little bit of a sense that he might be gay himself.
He is. Hence why earlier I was making a comparison to Ernst Röhm, because he essentially is like the modern equivalent of that when it comes to a lot of this, like, essentially Nazi arm / like hyper far right white supremacist fascist arm of a lot of the Christian fascist elements and shit, and far right Christian fundamentalists overall. I mean, because it's like, if they were to truly get power, especially in the way they would want it, like, he would be one of the first on the chopping block and shit, because they're easy within the inner circle, he'd be easy to get. Especially considering a lot of his past experiences and a lot of his weird things like, oh, it's gay to be with a woman, which is comical and literally says a lot more about him than anybody else, because it's, like, quite, unless you're a woman yourself, it's quite objectively the literal opposite, you know, of being gay. Again, unless you're a woman yourself, and that goes trans women too. Like, I mean, it's just like, unless, you know, you identify as a woman and you also love women, like, you're not gay, you fucking weirdo. I mean, it's just like, what the fuck? I mean, I guess also, like, non-binary folk can be included as well, but either way, it's just like, it's like, you fucking schmuck. Like, I mean, really?
Fully in his view of the world, because maybe he'd be prosecuted for that, because he's not necessarily the most masculine individual. Either way, he also wants to make sure there's no women's rights, and he doesn't want women to be executed, or educated, excuse me, but I'm sure executions are part of it, because he wants to burn women for being witches.
Like Salem witch trial shit. And frankly, also, women weren't the only people who were burned for being witches. There were also men who were too. Like, there was men who were burned at the stake. I mean, like, frankly, especially with how his world society would be like, it's like, he thinks he wouldn't be one of those motherfuckers on that stake. He would be, like, you know, seen as doing, like, you know, queer degeneracy, witchcraft, and then fucking, you know, be right up there on the fucking bundle of sticks, getting ready to be burned, just like the other witches that he wants to fucking persecute. So it's like, Nick Fuentes is just another one of these little fucking bitches that, like, oh man, I mean, if it wasn't, you know, for, like, you know, like, YouTube, you know, sake and shit, like, I mean, I'd call him for what he really fucking is. I saw part 2 of the Apocalypse DF, and in part of Zombies and when it destroys all critical thinking. I'm like, so conservatives? Oh, well, I remember that episode, honestly, so that was kind of like a nostalgic little wave of, like, the early DFF days there a little bit. How's he not been banned? Nick Fuentes, I think, from what I understand, for the most part, is banned on most social media, and his main podcasts, where you could get the clips of a lot of the shit that he does say, is on places like on DLive, and I think, oh my god, I think there was this one, what's it called? Rumble? I think Rumble. And DLive. DLive and Rumble, I think, are the places that he's on. And that's, like, where you can see a lot of the clips of his fucking Nazi rhetoric and shit. And frankly, honestly, as far as I give a fuck, like, Nick Fuentes, you know, not only needs to be banned, but, you know, well, I mean, you can kind of fill in the rest, I suppose, at that point. Because as far as I give a shit, like, that sad little degenerate, insecure little bitch is just, like, beyond the point of no return. And it's just, because, like, this motherfucker is literally, like, in bed within, like, a lot of, you know, the far-right Christian fundamentalist arm of the Republican Party. Like, you got, like, crazy fascists like Marjoran Titan Green and shit, like, straight up, you know, going to his America First, like, white nationalist fucking rally and shit, where, you know, she's all trying to deny it, and you got a lot of all these other fucking, you know, conservatives and fucking politicians, former and currently, that are all, you know, getting all nice and giggly and all, like, bundled up with him and getting, you know, snuggled up, you know, to him and shit. So it's like, it's not just like he's, you know, some random loof out there just spewing shit. Like, he actually, you know, a lot of his ideological influence is legitimately in some elements of the fucking Republican Party. Like, it actually is. Like, he actually legitimately is a motherfucker that shouldn't be underestimated. Because considering that there are actual politicians that have interacted with him and have been to a lot of, like, his little, like, rallies he set up and different shit like that, like, and all this other things, like, it shows that he has a lot more influence than people might want to make him out for. Talk about Nick Fuentes. The literal fucking gay Nazi fuck that's basically the modern day Ernst Röhm. Because honestly, if, you know, his, you know, type of ilk were to have their way, you know, to cut out loose ends of, you know, some undesirables that might be within the muck of their fucking, you know, filthy ass party and shit, or at least their filthy ass little, you know, ideological group, you know, Nick Fuentes will be seen as a loose end, considering a lot of his hyper insecure gayness and shit, and literally thinks being, you know, with women interacting with him is gay. Like, I mean, that says a lot more about him, and also a lot of other Nazis would see that as like, oh, well, you're undesirable, you can't even be around women because you think it's bad, so, nah, off with you, you're a witch, spewing weird degeneracy, you're a loose end to our cause. Just like Ernst Röhm was. He has a trans fanboy porn open on our tab during one of his shows, yep. So, it's just like, I mean, there's plenty of evidence against him when it comes to a lot of this shit, so, again, he would be a loose end. Like, Ernst Röhm was within the Nazi Party for quite a while and shit, you know, doing a lot of his influence. I mean, fuck, the motherfucker was the head of the SA for a while. But he still got executed, partially, you know, because he was gay. Again, he's not a good guy. Ernst Röhm was a, you know, literal Nazi piece of shit. But, you know, considering that he partook in different, like, gay orgies and shit like that, I mean, it's just like, it had a lot of influence, especially early on. It was kind of welcomed by a lot of different far-right politicians at the time. I mean, the comparisons seem, you know, at least there, but, I mean, it's not like they were identical in any way, necessarily. I just kind of see them at least somewhat comparable. Wow, what's this? The clearest image of Jupiter ever taken. What in the fuck? This looks like it's on like its southern pole or something. Because I think, is that supposed to be like its big ass eye right there? Yeah, I think that's supposed to be the eye. Dude, what the fuck? Looks like a bunch of archipelagos or some shit, like archipelagos or something. It's the Juno spacecraft. It's pretty dope. What? The only group of Seagate wave calling for Outlaw seems to be Muslim YouTubers, Ali Dawa, Mohammed Shab, Muslim skeptic. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of other YouTubers, maybe not necessarily literally call for banning homosexuality or outlawing it, but essentially have come either very close or have basically, in a way, smartly circumnavigated TOS, you know, calling for, you know, like, criminalization, or at least, you know, calling out of a lot of the degeneracy of homosexuality. Nothing wrong with what he was watching. I mean, yeah, like, frankly, like, the fact that, you know, Nick Fuentes has the sexuality that he does deep down inside, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, let him, like, if anything, I actually would be okay and respect him if he just decided to change, you know, shift and just openly be a fucking, you know, yes, I love trans people, I want that, like, trans dick, you know, in my mouth, I want to, like, you know, have, like, you know, like that gay awesome sauce all over me and shit. Like, I mean, if he was just like that and openly just didn't give a fuck anymore, I'd be like, alright, fine, you actually embrace who you actually really are inside, good for you, cool. Now, you got a little long road to hoe to redeem yourself, but we're off to a good start, you know? But a lot of Muslim YouTube so far call for atheism, homosexuality, warrant the death sentence, YouTube, let's get away with it. I mean, I've seen the same thing from a lot of Christian far-right preachers as of late, too. Not saying that, like, you know, YouTube is, you know, just, like, you know, like, not, you know, probably giving it a pass to a degree and shit, but, like, I mean, this idea of, like, you know, the calling out, especially with religious fundamentalism and shit, just in general, especially when it comes to, you know, a lot of different, ideologies from, like, Islam, from Hinduism, etc., like, it definitely gets a little bit more of a leeway, because you can't discriminate against religion. It's like, I mean, it's like, fuck, it's like, whenever I see that shit, it's like, oh, fuck off. Like, if you're using your religion to discriminate others, then, you know what, go fuck yourself. I'm gonna discriminate you based on your religion. Because, I mean, it's like, what? It's like, what, you think it's a one-way street? Like, either way, the fact that YouTube allows it in the first place, Islamic, Christian, otherwise, is fucking abhorrent. I mean, you should be allowing this fucking shit anyway. Outside of reacting to fucking on it and calling out for what it is. Like people like, you know, the Human Supporter, you know, people like me doing it. Because it's just like, I mean, it's like, I mean, what good does, you know, propagating their shit? Honestly, I don't even remember, like, what? But I honestly remember clicking on some weird shit about, like, hold on, you know what, hold on. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Let me pull the screen down, because I have to go for, like, my YouTube history, I think, here. Because I think it's in here. I remember unironically finding, like, some Christian Orthodox... Oh, here it is. English Orthodox champs, but America accepted Orthodoxy and turned its back on its degenerate... Like, I'm not even kidding. This is a thing. This is on YouTube, dude. This was recommended to me, and I couldn't help but fucking click it. Orthodox Meme Squad is unironically the channel name. Let's just look at these comments. As a Catholic, I find this beautiful. May God help our country. Save it. Glory be God. As a new Christian without a church, I seriously consider becoming Orthodox. If I ever doubt, never think the memes of videos like this impact people, so thank you. Oh my God. Ugh. As an Orthodox Christian and an American, I fully support this. Let us have, you know, the abolition of homosexuality and, you know, degeneracy just burnt at the stake. Yes. Oh my God. Oh, fucking Christ, dude. This channel's garbage. Like, it's actually, like, filthy. I actually feel like I want to take a shower after, like, you know, fucking just clicking that. Like, I really, really desperately need a shower now. There's that Jay Dyer guy, the Orthodox on YouTube, all love. Some other weird, like, Orthodox fucking religious dork ball. Like, when's, like, the next wave of, like, militant atheists gonna come around? Like, I mean, we still got some of the OGs, like Aaron Raw. I mean, militant atheist doesn't really do it that much. Matt Dillahunty's still kind of around and shit. Like, I mean, still got some OGs here and there, but, like, where's, like, the new wave? I know, I guess we got, like, what's his name? Like, the Cosmic Skeptic. I know it's, like, a couple of them, but, I mean, fuck. Like, I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really remember their names that much. About militant atheists. Well, I think a lot of these days, like, at least a lot of, from what I've noticed from the BreadTube sphere, they actually have kind of vindicated a lot of different militant atheists from the time. Like, there's different, militant atheists and shit that have basically, kind of, from at the time during, like, the whole schisms and shit, while maybe initially kind of looked like they were anti-SJW or, like, right-leaning types or whatever. Lately I've obviously been quite the opposite and been more, like, left-leaning. People like TJ, for example. And a lot of people on the BreadTube sphere who at least initially thought he was just another one of these anti-SJW dork types or whatever, have realized, oh shit, he's actually pretty based, like, when watching his content now, and, and I actually kind of like him, my dude. Like, he's actually, like, he's, like, buddies with Vosh now, and, like, a lot of different, lefty YouTubers now have actually kind of, been pretty fond of people like, TJ and shit, so. I mean, I feel like, at least these days, a lot of different BreadTuber, slash, like, lefties overall, I think I've kind of realized, like, oh, yeah, they were actually right. I mean, it's not like it wasn't all for naught, because there definitely were, militant atheist types like Sargon and shit like that, who just basically went down the far right fucking, pretty much just like borderline fascist fucking shithole that was that little rabbit hole, so, I mean, it's like, in a way, it also kind of showed, like, who was willing to either be a grifter or, like, what side they really were on ideologically, or, when it came to other ideas, like social views and political views outside of just atheism and shit. But, because like I said, I mean, I don't think it wasn't all for naught. TJ wasn't necessarily wrong on all of his anti-SJW takes, though there was a time I couldn't watch him more because he went too far right. Yeah. I mean, even when he went too far right, I was still kind of watching him, but I was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I mean, sometimes I would, think at, okay, so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think you're a little wrong there, Tej. But, there's been times over the last couple years where either on TJ Does Life or on the Amazing Atheist channel, he's, like, reacted to some of his older anti-SJW vids. And, well, I think in a lot of, and I kind of agree, with his sentiment, but, like, with sticking with a lot of his different takes, but noticing where, yeah, I probably didn't know better, or, I did go a little harsh, at the time, and, and I think this now, and actually, show where he's changed. And that's honestly why I respect TJ, though, because, there's times where he's reacted to his old shit and showed, like, here's where I've changed, and here's where I still kind of agree, and, it's like, and overall, how I changed. I'm not, or I've ever been a right-winger. Yeah. I mean, like, the closest I could say I probably have been is probably when I was, like, in high school and shit, where I was, like, didn't really, I wasn't really, like, hypercritical of capitalism and shit, and if anything, I was, like, anti-tax and kind of, I guess, more libertarian-ish, but not, like, hardcore with it, because I kind of understood the ideas of, like, yeah, roads and stuff like that are necessities and shit, so it's like, I guess, the closest I ever really got was that, I was mostly, like, centrist, if anything. But, ever since, kind of being that, I've always been, like, slowly going left. Well, I guess, for you guys, it'll probably go, like, This anti-feminist takes were usually, just stupid shit feminists, said, like, that's not right, which is really funny. Oh, yeah. Yeah, usually a lot of his, like, anti-feminist things were usually just, people who were, what we would call now basically just Karens. Like, at the time, they were just the proto-Karens, really, is what he was reacting at. Because nowadays, we call them Karens. Like, I mean, what, it's like what he was reacting to really is just evolved to that. And now that's, like, a very broad thing. Like, I mean, Karen isn't necessarily just, like, just, some specific type of type of lady just fucking freaking bitching out. I think Tejas said when you do nothing but, I think Tejas' problem was that when you do nothing but that, you end up feeling the right wing. Yeah. Because there was a period of time, I think, I think it was, like, during the 2015-16, aspect of things, where he was still, even after Trump was elected, he was still kind of like, let's give him a chance kind of feeling a little bit, because a lot of that was, kind of feeling that, but I think he's even said it himself, like, where TJ was like, after that point, was just like, oh shit, I'm realizing a lot of these people I truly do not fucking like, and I actually fucking detest. Like, I have a lot of people following me that I just don't want fucking following me, frankly. Or if they are, I want them to fucking change their ways. And realize that over time, and eventually it's like, you know what, I'm not gonna feel like, as much as it could be easy to make the money, I ain't gonna fucking grift it. And I mean, he's honestly has definitely said that multiple times. Where it's like, I mean, you know how easy it would have been for me to grift, being a far right dipshit, but it's like I didn't because I want to stick with my own principles. And that's how I felt, and that's why I especially really respect him for that. And I think that's why I think a lot of, like I said earlier, breadtubers and like leftists these days, kind of vindicate him a little more these days, just because. He's shown that he's actually willing to self-reflect and introspect that and also share that with people. So, I think he's definitely one of those dudes that actually is, willing to show, honesty and actually be out there, be like, yeah, here's where I've been wrong and here's how I've changed and here's, like how I want to actually, be because I'm, principled in the ideas that I have. I mean, he definitely has an ego about it. I will admit that, but honestly, in a way, I'm kind of frankly glad that he does. I mean, if anything, it adds to the whole character of him overall. That's honestly what I love about TJ. I mean, he's just such a fucking character about everything. You have to not make it clear not only what you're against, but what you're for. Exactly. Or at least I hope that I try to, do that when it comes to that type of stuff. Because, I mean, because it's very easy to just be like, yeah, I'm against, like, these crystal fascist shit, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, I mean, like, what would be the replacement, or at least, be the advocacy of, response to and shit. And at least for me, I like, and I think I at least do alright. To at least, try to, be an advocate when it comes to that stuff. But especially lately, considering what's being targeted by a lot of these type of religious fundamentalists in the country and shit. I mean, in some parts, it seems, at least relatively self-explanatory. Like, if you got, like, abortion rights and potentially, career rights overall, I mean, because it already is to an extent. Being hyper-targeted, like by the government, at least, by, aspects of the government, like the Supreme Court and shit, on top of, a lot of different, far-right fundamentalists and shit who go out of the way to, like, protest these, pride rallies or all this other shit. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's, it's like, it's a very easy thing to criticize, but it's also like, well, what's the advocacy of that? Well, defending those things and, allowing those things to be normalized and have an accessibility and, just, well, the same equal opportunity that, queer folk, trans folk, and other minority groups that, these people are targeting, women, as well, like, the whole nine. Can have the same equal opportunities and rights when it comes to healthcare and everything else, society-wise, and also have at least laws protecting them, against stigmatization. It's the advocacy of that, because, well, that's exactly what the fucking opposition of those ideas is about, is the persecution and the oppression of these type of people. Which I definitely don't want to stand for. Like, I don't want to, just let that type of shit just, like, roll around. And I'm honestly just kind of glad that, I do live in a state that is at least, by proxy going to have these type of protections. But, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean, at least on a social level, that I might. Because if, I happen to be at, like, for example, like a pride event or, like a protest or, like, some rally, of a sorts and shit, then... especially where I live in Portland, like, a lot of these type of far-right fundamentalists, come here to just fuck shit up and start shit and antagonize people, especially that happen to be in or around the whole area that these rallies or protests or whatever the hell might be going on, and shit. Like, I mean, that's a lot of what their modus operandi. So it's just like, yeah, maybe our state might be able to protect things like women's rights and queer rights and shit like that, because they do, but... And if anything, are openly, expressing how they're going to enforce these things, especially as of right now. But, these type of far-right elements and shit aren't, still are going to try to push their fucking influence here and start fucking shit up and counter-protesting and all this other shit. And either way, I'm still willing to stand for it. Because especially from a lot of these fucking chuckle fucks that come from places like Vancouver, Idaho, straight up, literally, even different places from around the country, like in Texas, Tennessee, to Arkansas, like Nevada, Arizona, like straight up. These are like, there's different places, where a lot of these Patriot Prayer guys or Proud Boy types and shit who have been arrested, have, when it comes to like different shit that they have done in Portland, like a lot of them have come from not just out of state, but like well out of state. It's just like, where it's like it's practically almost the opposite end of the fucking country. It's like, why in the fuck are you into Portland? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you're literally here to start shit and you come from bumblefuck, chucklefuck, Texas or goddamn Boise, Idaho. Like, get the fuck out of here. You literally are wasting hours of a day, or even multiple fucking days, to fuck with, like, queer people, or, like, people who happen to be a little too much commies, or fucking, a bunch of radical terrorists in your mind. It's like, what the fuck? That's why I get so hyper defensive when they come here and shit, because it's just like their mentality is like they don't think like I'm literally going out of my way, sometimes days on end, to go to one town to fuck with people. Right into a civil war, yes. I mean, I know that there's been different political scientists that have said that, like, when it comes to 2024, like, that election, I mean, really, no matter what the result is, we're going to at least see some form of political violence that's going to happen. Whatever the results, are for 2024. And that's just with whatever happens. Like, it doesn't even really emphasize on who. It's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter really who. There's likely just going to be, regardless who, some form of political violence, from either one side or the other, or on all sides, on both sides of the spectrum. So it's just like, I mean, there's going to be at least something. I don't know, maybe outright civil war, but we're definitely going to see a lot of different fucking, like, skirmishes and shit. Which is honestly likely what the whole, like, Civil War II is going to look like. It's not really going to be like, specific state segregations and shit where there's going to be actual borders. It's going to be more like pockets of, like, cells of, groups and shit like that are within the overall country where the government's trying to, like, deal with and shit. And in some ways might even be partially complicit with it. Because it can help them, enact more control and more authority and more suppression of the general populace, and they can just be okay with it. So, like a more domestic version of the Patriot Act or some shit. So it's just like, it's just like, if anything, who knows? I would hope that it doesn't get to such a severe case like that, but because honestly, at best, it might be a few little pocket skirmishes here and there, and then they like subside for a while outside of maybe occasional violence in protests and shit, or at different rallies. But at worst, it probably would be some shit like that. This is why people come from out of state to fuck with pride events.
Most violence against gays is that heterosexual men are forced to prove that they themselves are not gay. It goes like this. Men in strong male subcultures like the police, the military, and sports, and a few other cesspools, they bond very strongly. Hunting, fishing, and golfing friendships also produce this unnatural bonding. These guys bond and bond and bond, and they get closer and closer until finally they're just drunk enough to say, I really love these guys. And that frightens them. So they quickly add, but I'm not a queer. See the dilemma? Now they have to go out of their way to prove to the world, to their buddies, and to themselves that they don't harbor homoerotic feelings. And it's only a short step from I'm not a queer to, in fact, I hate queers. And another short step to, let's go kill some queers. And what they really seek to kill is not the queer outside, it's the queer inside they fear. Gay bashers are repressed homosexuals attempting to deny the queer inside. But certain signals get past the
Yep.
screen. That's why you see so many policemen with those precious little well-groomed mustaches. You'd see more of the same mustaches on athletes and military men, but those two groups are not allowed to express themselves freely. Military drones and many sheep-like athletes have dress codes and are forbidden to wear facial hair. The idea is to limit and reduce their individuality. These are men who have chosen to allow the organization to run their lives. That's why athletes, police, and military men have that rigid, unbending body language. They're severely repressed. Guess what they're repressing? Why do you think they call those police cars cruisers?
Cruisers. I think that San Francisco Gay Men's Choir video was feeling that fire. I remember when that came out, I thought this is gonna turn so many of them way more into gay. San Francisco Gay Men's Choir? I don't know much about that, so you have to elaborate a little bit with that, but hold on. These protests, like you see in places in Portland, are really meant to be protests. They're meant to be displays of strength. Victory dances about conflict, not protests. Are you meaning like the different, like, you know, maybe like pride rallies or like BLM rallies or like the Proud Boys? Or I guess both? Not to make you elaborate on both comments, but remember that We're Coming for Your Children video put out by the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir? It went viral on the internet. We're Coming for Your Children video? Honestly, I don't. What was this more recently? I mean both left and right, Antifa and the right wing. With the Victory Dance about conflict. Oops, I don't want it. Okay, there we go. This is about a year and a half ago. Maybe that was just one of the things that just kind of went past me, because honestly, I don't remember that. At least when it comes to the whole Gay Men Choir thing. But for the whole protest part of it, I mean, I like, in a way I do agree, but at the same time I kind of disagree a little bit. Like, I guess I'm more, in a sense, you know, think it's a little bit more elaborate than that, in a sense, I guess, when it comes to, meant to be displays of strength, victory dances about conflict, not protest. I mean, in a sense, it's like, yeah, I mean, because, I mean, the whole, at least especially when it comes to, like, different groups, like, you know, BLM, or Antifa, or, you know, or frankly, you know, a lot of, you know, especially lately, a lot of different, like, women advocacy groups. I mean, it's not necessarily just also, like you're saying, you know, a show of force. You know, it's also, you know, a way of conflict against the whole system, because that's a main focus of the grievance and shit. Because if, you know, you got like a federal Supreme Court, you know, like trying to revoke women's rights, and very likely a lot more than that as well. I mean, you know, it's not, you know, just, you know, of, you know, force of like protest, you know, against the thing, but the whole aspect in itself is also meant to be kind of a show of strength and a sense of force of like, yeah, like, I mean, this is what happens when you fuck with us. Like, we're going to come out in droves, you know, and protest and make our voices heard. I mean, that's why I kind of, I guess it may, you know, that's why I should maybe not necessarily say agreed and disagreed. I should, you know, this is like, you know, agreed, but a little bit more with an elaboration to it. You know, because it's like, I mean, it is, you know, to a sense, but you know, at least I don't think, you know, depending on what the specific, you know, protest is, you know, depending on who is doing it, it might not necessarily be the main focus, but, you know, because of the nature of, you know, going out and doing a protest or doing a rally, it is a sense of, you know, showing force, you know, of the, you know, of the people coming out to show up there. And also, you know, kind of have, like, you know, a sense of, like, yeah, you know, we're here, and, you know, we're here to, you know, say our shit. I mean, it's not, you know, and I guess in a sense where, where I partially disagree is just, like, the aspect of things like the whole, like, victory dance idea and shit. I think that just kind of also depends on, you know, how the protest or the rally goes. Like, the last one I was at was back in 2021 in August, and that one, there was a little bit of a sense of a victory dance, you know, because when the Proud Boys were first showing up to where they initially wanted to rally up at, there was a few people who were meant to be counter-protesting who just already showed up. And there was a lot more of them than the first people showing up there. And they're like, hey, we should probably rally up somewhere else. So they did, and they all decided to bub the fuck out. And, you know, and then as, you know, the initial counter-protest was there, you know, more and more showed up. And there was a little bit of sense of like, yeah, you know, they tried to show up, but, you know, the guy got fucked off because, you know, as much as they tried to come here, you know, to try to start some shit, you know, when they already saw people, decided to, you know, pussy out a little bit. You know, if anything, try to do a little bit of like a whole trap thing, you know, where they were literally on the opposite side of downtown, where it's like, oh, we'll basically get, you know, most of the group, or at least split up the group, so the people that do show up, we can kind of fuck with them, which is legit what happened. Like, there was at least like 30 people that split to go to where they initially rallied at and kind of got fucked on a little bit, because, well, there wasn't enough of them, you know, to like, you know, go over there anyway, so I don't know why they did that in the first place. They could have just stuck where we were at and see if they would come back over or something. And if not, then, all right, cool, yay, more victory dance stuff. But if not, then all right, we'll hold the line and deal with their shit if they come by. But they never did. So it's like, I don't know why, you know, those people did, but they could have just stuck around and chilled, maybe have a beer or two, smoke some weed, and hang out with some people, you know, and all that shit, because that's ended up what really happening for pretty much 99% of the day that was going on that time. It was just kind of people hanging out and shit. It's not like there was some conflict that did happen. There was some stuff, but most of it was, yeah, a little bit of a victory type of thing. Because, I mean, it wasn't, you know, because the whole idea, like, was, yeah, I mean, to definitely show a little bit of a sense of force, because if all, you know, because all these people that, you know, these Proud Boy types that were initially doing the rally weren't coming here for Portland, because they were trying to flex their show force, so... I mean, yeah, like, that's why I say, you know, yeah, I do agree to an extent, but I think, you know, there's a little more to it than just that, but, I mean, it does play a role, you know, so, I should have said agree and disagree, because, I mean, you know, it definitely does have a role to it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the only thing that plays in a role when it comes to a lot of things, but again, it just kind of depends on the very specific protest that is going on and what it is reacting to. Because a lot of it, you know, isn't necessarily, you know, like going to be about like a whole victory dance and shit. Because there's been plenty of protests where I'm coming back and we're all kind of like all grustled and, you know, beaten up a little bit. So it's just like, I mean, there's been some nights and some protests that I've been at, you know, where there's not really much room for victory dancing type of stuff. But at the same time, there's, you know, other things that play, like, you know, the strength and the force of people being there and, you know, being organized, you know, and shit like that, you know, so, I mean, it plays a role. And I think, you know, I think it honestly should to some degree. I mean, it's like, because if you don't at least have, like, you know, the organized strength, you know, of a protest in case, you know, like, cops try to break you up or counter-protests try to fuck you for shit, then, I mean, you're essentially going to get it walked all over, you know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, it's sense of having at least, you know, some, at the very minimal, some defensive force if, you know, people try to fuck with you and shit, you know, whether they're cops or otherwise, you know, to at least be able to, you know, protect yourself or at least, you know, kind of like hold a line in a sense. I mean, I think it has at least some merit. I don't have a problem with political violence. Politics are inherently violent. Just because something is forced by its current political system doesn't mean it's not forced through state violence. Well, yeah. I mean, like, our current political system is very inherently very violent and shit, honestly. I mean, a lot of it is just very top down. It's whenever people have the very minimum, you know, like very tiny little acts of violence, you know, like, a garbage, you know, like a public garbage can is on fire, or someone lit a dumpster on fire, you know, some water balls or some fireworks are chucked. One Molotov happened to be chucked. It's like, send in basically the riot squad, fucking gas, like tear gas and shit, and arrest like pretty much everybody, you know, if you can help it. It's like the most tiniest little bit of violence that, you know, is from the bottom up will have the most very violently too, you know, severe repercussions, you know, top down. As a way to kind of like show a lesson a little bit. I mean, that's why, you know, especially for me, I never don't necessarily have an inherent problem with it, because, like, I mean, it's like, I mean, think about it in this way. It's like, I mean, if you pay rent, yes. Well, what happens if you don't? Well, somebody's probably gonna, you know, come in and try to evict you. Well, who's that person? Probably a cop. And what happens if you resist that cop? Well, he's probably gonna pull the gun out and probably, you know, demand you get it, you know, get the fuck out, or you're gonna be arrested. What happens to resist that? Well, chances are you're probably getting shot or beaten the fuck out of and then arrested. So it's just like, I mean, you know, that is that not violence? Because it obviously is. It's at least, you know, the whole premise is at least threatened with violence. I mean, how many times, especially during the pandemic, were there videos of, like, people literally getting kicked out of their homes by, like, squads of fucking sheriffs? So, what, is that not violence? Because it most 100% is. Because the whole threat of it is there. And a lot of these type of people usually do try to fucking, you know, resist it and be like, yo, what the fuck? You know, like, you don't have a right to do this. And they'll be like, get the fuck back. You know, it's like, back up, miss. Excuse me, you no longer, you know, have a, you know, property ownership of this place here. You need to back up or you're going to be arrested. It's just ridiculous shit. And also, the same cops are the ones that we're supposedly supposed to rely on and shit. You know, when it comes to a lot of things, like I was ranting about a little bit earlier on stream and shit, when it comes to, like, oh, you know, it's like they're supposed to protect serve when it comes to, like, you know, shootings that might happen, you know, where your kids are studying at schools and shit like that. But literally will do fucking nothing outside of maybe, you know, make sure that the relatives that happen to be in the vicinity of being shot at are okay. And literally not do anything about it. If anything, just like hold back and be like, well, hold up, guys. Don't let your emotions get too hard on you. This guy, look, we don't think he's black, alright? He's not unarmed and he's not black, alright? Look, don't get your emotions up. Don't get emotions up. Cool. Calm down. It's okay. We'll just have to hold here and we'll wait for this white guy to surrender. Alright? He'll surrender. Maybe he might just off himself. We don't have to do nothing. Just wait it out. Took him like, well, a fucking hour to actually like do a goddamn thing anyway. It's like, well, he actually didn't surrender or off himself. Yeah, it's been over an hour. Maybe we should probably actually do something about that. Says the Border Patrol agent that fucking put him down. Instead of the actual fucking cops that should have been doing something in the fucking first place. Was he Hispanic? Something like that. I'm just saying, you know, from the cops' perspective. Like, they probably didn't know that right off the top of my head. It's like, look, he's not black. That's why I said not black. I mean, it's like, if he's Hispanic and shit, then it's like, well, alright, well, let's see. Let's look at my skin card here. Alright. Well, we can't see him in the actual room, so he's in somewhere in this area, and there's also, like, a gray area right here. So, he could be in this metric, so we're just gonna kind of be, like, right back here, and we're just gonna hold back. Sounds like 75 is, Hispanic. Which is also would imply that a lot of the fucking police department is, you know, Hispanic as well. So, I mean, if anything, you know, like in a lot of their mind, they're just like, well, alright, it's probably just, you know, one of the, you know, normal ones that we allow around here. It's not an outside or nothing. It doesn't happen normally around here. So this person will eventually just kind of calm down and, you know, come to his senses and blah, blah, blah. Which obviously didn't happen. I'm just saying fundamentally the cops just basically didn't do shit. I'm just basically using every stereotypical trope against them. You know, it's like, I mean, I haven't necessarily been specifically in West Texas, but I've been in Texas too. I mean, I know it's predominantly white and Hispanic. And depending on which area in Texas, it might be more Hispanic than white. But, you know, in other areas, it's probably more white than Hispanic. 553 trans. Well, that's just Texas, period. Like, I've been to places that are whiter than goddamn snow, and that is the exact shit that I see too. I mean, I've also seen, you know, some places that, not just in Texas, that also have a lot of Hispanic people that are also the same thing. Like, I think that's just kind of an American thing at this point. I don't think you can necessarily just attribute that to necessarily, like, one group or another. Worst obesity problem in the U.S. I'm not denying that. Like, I know there actually is statistics where, yeah, they actually kind of beat us on that, which I will admit, I am surprised when I heard that information, but I'm not necessarily too shocked. I mean, I ain't denying that, but I mean, still, doesn't necessarily mean it's also, you know, like a pretty American thing too, because it is, but it's also spread out and been exported out, especially in places like Mexico, because you can't drink the water there, and what's cheap? Soda. And especially cold soda. It's pretty refreshing. And yes, Coca-Cola, yep. Oh, I know about it. Coke is the drink of the Death Squad. You know what? You're making me think of this song. Hold on. It's more specifically about Colombia, but I mean, it's the same premise applies. Yeah, let me turn it down. I don't need it that loud. Sure, people get fat quicker too. They don't have a higher metabolism usually, from I've noticed. Because honestly, like, I'm pretty tall. Like, I'm 6'2", and I got ridiculous metabolism. I mean, it's not, like, exclusive, obviously, just short people that have high metabolism. I mean, my department manager is, like, when standing next to me is literally, like, right here. I'm not even kidding. And she has a pretty high metabolism because she's not exactly, like, big herself. She's actually pretty skinny, too. Technically, Pacific Islands have the worst problem. Well, I mean, they're not highly populated, so per capita, yeah, they are. Yeah. Latin American cultures tend to be pretty social because her routine are wide and the most socially liberal cultures in Latin America. I think a lot of that comes from Euro immigration in the 20th century. Well, didn't Colombia just get a leftist president? I mean, I'd probably add Colombia to that if their newest president, you know, ends up actually, you know, proving his worth a little bit. Because there was basically a dude who unironically praised Hitler, and then you had like a Bernie Sanders style leftist in Colombia running for president, and the Bernie Sanders style Colombian won. So it's like, I mean, I feel like, you know, Colombia might, you know, eventually, you know, get there, but it's not socially progressive when it comes to family values, homosexuality, and whatnot. Well, I don't know. I mean, like I said, that might change a little in a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it's certain, but I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of hardcore leftists in Latin America who are still very socially conservative. I'm not denying that. I mean, there's the same thing here in America, too. Like, there's, you know, around the world, there's still going to be socially conservative. Like, I mean, there's, like, isn't, like, the more modern version of, like, the term for this, like, Nazbols, basically? Like, leftist economically, but pretty socially conservative on a lot of shit with, like, queer rights and stuff. Shake Revival's not pro-gay. From my, well, I've looked up about that, and from my understanding, it's like he initially wasn't, but over time, he eventually kind of reversed his ways a little bit. He wasn't like, you know, a hardcore advocate, you know, about it, but he was just like, yeah, I mean, it's fine, yeah, I wasn't exactly kind of, you know, right about, you know, saying they're fucked up and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Education is pretty bad in those places, which leads to more religious people, which leads to bigotry. Yep. You know what, let me play something that's a little bit more heavy, actually. More in a heavy mood. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. National Socialism in literal sense, Strausserism, and National Bolshevism. Which sounds ew. Sounds gross. I don't want that. I don't want that idea. Black women, okay. What about them? What about black women? Just black women. Just black women, that's it. Just nothing else to it. Hashtag black women. Hashtag black women. Saw the oldest black person I ever saw in my life today. What the fuck? Like, what would be the guess of how old this person would be? Hashtag Michelle Obama. Michelle. Hashtag Michelle Obama. Strong black woman right there, that's right. Oh, you know what, you were thinking, come on, Harriet? No. She hasn't been done nothing. Definitely over 100. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, can live over 100 and shit, so it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think like one of the, I remember honestly like one of the more, like, I don't think it's like the oldest person in America, but I think one of, at least, this black guy that basically like smokes cigars like every day and shit, and he lives in Texas. And from what I understand, he actually doesn't live far away from some of my family that lives in Texas. He lives outside of the like country area around like southern Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth area. And you know, so, and apparently he's like, from what I understand, like a little over 100 or some shit. And you know, it's just like, and actually it's pretty liked about, you know, from, you know, some of the people. And if I remember correctly, I think my cousin was telling me that he met him once, because sometimes, you know, you'll go out, you know, and, you know, visit some of the little local towns in the area. Janet Jackson, Serena Williams. Are we just naming random black women now? Lieutenant Uhura. I honestly am forgetting her name right off the top of my head, but Lieutenant Uhura is pretty fucking based. I love Lieutenant Uhura. Like, honestly, like, I love the fact that Martin Luther King actually was the one who persuaded her to stay on Star Trek, dude. Because Martin Luther King, being based as he was, you know, despite even his personal flaws, was just like, he straight up that's just like, you know, was like, yo, you're gonna stay on fucking Star Trek because, you know, this is a very progressive show socially, you know, and you're a very pinnacle, you know, thing in that, because you're not just like some, you know, black woman on the show, you're just, you know, an officer in the show that is, you know, a part of the crew like everyone else. Like, I mean, you don't realize really what, like, your role is here. Like, I mean, it's not, you know, it's like, you know, in our current, you know, it's like, because in the Star Trek world, you're, you know, you're not, like, seen as a black woman, you're just seen as a woman. So, like, you know, I mean, like, play into it, you know? It's like he pretty much convinced her just with, like, one conversation. It's like, because she was like, hey, you have a fan who wants to meet you. Like, that was basically how it started, and she's like, oh, okay, I want to meet the fan, and she walks up and realizes, oh, fuck, that's Martin Luther King Jr. that I'm, like, walking up to, and she was like, oh, fuck. And, you know, and she mentioned how she was thinking about quitting, and he was like, no, you do not do that. And, you know, explained to her, and she's like, oh, you know, it's like, you know what, yeah, you know what, it's kind of inspired me, I think I will stay. So, base Martin Luther King for keeping her on. Because you also got, like, Walter Koenig, you know, being the Russian, you know, like, basically the pilot for the, you know, for the Enterprise and shit. Like, while the Cold War is going on, you know, we're antagonistic to the Ruskies and all that shit. I mean, it's like, especially the original series, like, as cheesy as it was, you know, today, like, and it's kind of goofy now, like, it was a very, like, you know, it's, especially socially and culturally, a very, like, really just, like, a very pinnacle show that was, you know, like, needed at the time, honestly, and it's, like, that's why I love it, like, that's why I love checking out the original series, is, again, it was, as much as it's, like, as much as it's cheesy today, I mean, but honestly, I appreciate that nowadays. I appreciate the cheese that is the original series. Star Trek, I've never seen it before. You better be, you know, fucking sarcastic. There better be some sarcasm there, bro. Because if you actually haven't seen, like, anything of Star Trek, I'd be like, I mean, it's like, really? It's like, I figured at least something. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, even just, like, people who don't really know of Star Trek have at least seen, like, maybe an episode of, like, TNG or some shit. Aw. Hey, little baby. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I wake you up? I'm just gonna give you some love. Sweet, sweet little baby. I have to check it out. I've literally seen no Star Trek. I've just heard about it from friends over the years. If, like, I definitely recommend if you watch it, check out, The Wrath of Khan. And, check out Deep Space Nine and, The Next Generation. Like, those are, I think, like, the three, like, peaks of Star Trek right there, at least in my opinion. Voyager is also up there too. I would also check that out as well. You know, and then, you know, use that as kind of like, you know, a staple to kind of like expand, you know, from there, essentially. Because a lot, you know, there's a lot, like, the other movies are pretty good, but if you want to see a really, like, just good Star Trek film, The Wrath of Khan is, like, it pretty much any Trekkie will tell you the same thing. The Wrath of Khan is, like, the Star Trek movie that, you know, introduce yourself to first. Oh, you know what? Honestly, here, I'll even start it. Like, I'll let me pull up a scene. Oh, I don't want to spoil it with too much though. So let me do this first. Yeah. No. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah. We'll do this because this isn't a full spoiler, but it kind of gets you a good little start. I mean, it's kind of like a minor a little bit, but, I mean, it's an old movie, so, I mean... The Miranda class. Don't get your channel pulled down. I've done it before, I mean, especially with it being so small in the corner, I mean, we should be okay. I'm gonna pause it and talk over it anyway. That's Khan with his, oh, and by the way, Khan is an augmented human, and before, humanity discovered warp drive, and thus the Federation was founded, and, like, the, Vulcans discovered, the humans, or at least introduced themselves after, Zefram Cochrane, discovered warp drive, for humanity. And thus unified humanity and advanced them out of, like, essentially a modernized Dark Age. And then from there, have been able to, progress, from this point, but there's been this fragment of humans known as the augmented humans, which at this point, Khan leads. And they're pretty much like the last remnants of them. They're like Terminators, basically.
Sir, may I quote General Order
Wait, what? Yeah, Carl, what the fuck?
12? On
Why?
the of any vessel when communications have not been established.
I agree with Colby, why? That's disgusting, gross. I just want to watch some a cool-ass Star Trek scene, come on now.
Is it possible that comm systems fail?
It would explain a great many things. They're requesting communication centers.
Let them eat static.
Let the beat static.
They're still running with shields down.
Of course.
Of course.
We are one big
Happy family. Or fleet.
Kirk.
Okay, old friend.
Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us
revenge
revenge
is a dish that is best served cold?
It is
Very cruel.
in space.
God, I love Khan. Oh.
This is damn peculiar.
Dude, I love the uniforms. The uniforms are so fucking awesome.
Energized defense.
These are probably my favorite uniforms too. With the jackets and shit. I love it.
I'm getting a voice message. They say their chambers coil is overloading their comm system.
Spock. Scanning.
Scanning.
Coil emissions are normal.
Coil missions are normal, huh? Uh-oh.
Still haven't raised their shields.
Raise ours.
Raise ours.
Their shields are going up.
Lock faces.
Lock faces.
Locking phasers on target. They're locking phasers.
Raise shields.
Too late! Oh! Oh! Long phaser shot. That did some fucking damage. Oh shit. Emergency fucking gate closing. Get him! Get your boy! No man left behind. Get him! Get him! Got him out. Aw, shit. Right in the fucking engineer room, dude. Right in the fucking engine room. They knew exactly where to hit. I love Scotty, dude. Dude, Scotty in Star Trek, especially in the original series, is like the best character ever. He's like this like Scot, and his accent is great. I love him. He's the best.
They knew exactly where
Beam me up, Scotty. Aye.
and why
Aye, Captain.
we cannot escape auxiliary power.
God damn it, I'm drunk as shit. I just drank a fifth of whiskey. Oh man, I wish I had some too, because I'm definitely feeling celebratory because our old management, now old management, is finally fucking leaving. We're getting new management Sunday. I wish I had some whiskey. You know what? I should have fucking, like, my dad showed up at my work to bring me my card back after I sent him to the bank for me. And I'm just like, you know, I should have been like, yo, you go to the fucking, like, you know, liquor store, grab me, like, a fucking bottle of, like, whiskey or Wake vodka or some shit, dude. I kind of want to low-key celebrate. I should have bought more Twisted Tea. I actually am feeling one more, and I only got this left, and it's almost empty. And I'm feeling one more, and it's like, god damn it.
Silver, divert all power phasers.
Oh shit, that's a torpedo. Brace for impact. Ooh. Uber Eats alcohol. I don't have Uber Eats though. I mean, that would be hell. I mean, I do have money in the bank. Yeah, I could. That would be a process though. I'm talking my way out of this. God damn it, why? I could run to 7-Eleven. I could do that, but I would have to leave you y'all something. I'm not gonna, like, take y'all with me on that one.
Admiral, the commander of the Reliant is signaling. He wishes to discuss terms of our surrender.
The Reliant. It's an awesome name for a vessel, too.
It's on screen.
Put him on screen.
Do it.
Do it.
Oh, we still have time.
Going up with Palpatine on him. Do it.
On screen, sir.
God. God.
You still...
Oh.
I cannot help but be touched.
I cannot.
I, of course, remember you. What is the meaning of this attack? Where is the crew of the Reliant? Surely I have made my meaning plain. I mean to avenge myself upon you, Admiral. I deprived your ship of power, and when I swing around, I mean to deprive you of your life. But I wanted you to know first who it was who had beaten you.
Ooh. Look at death in the face.
If it's me you want, I'll have myself beamed aboard. Spare my crew. I make you a counter proposal. I'll agree to your terms if, in addition to yourself, you hand over to me all data and material regarding the project called Genesis.
Genesis, what's that?
Don't insult my intelligence.
Saying that to an augmented human who are far more vastly intelligent than just space humans.
I will recall the data on our computers.
I give you 60 seconds, Admiral.
60 seconds. I love this.
Clear the bridge. At least we know he doesn't have Genesis. Keep nodding as though I'm still giving orders. But stop.
Yeah.
Punch up the data charts of Reliance Command Console.
He ain't giving a fuck about that Genesis shit. He's plotting something. I love it. Dude, I love Kirk, dude. William Shatner. This is why I love Shatner.
We're finding it.
Keeping him distracted, delaying him.
Please, we gotta give us time.
He's pressuring him even though he gave him 60 seconds.
Time is a luxury you don't have, Admiral.
Well, quit fucking with him. Khan. He knows what he's doing. Probably has his suspicions. Getting his glasses. He has to look like it. He has to at least fake the interest.
Reliance prefix number is 16309.
13609.
Learn why things work on a starship. Each ship has its own combination code to prevent an enemy from doing what we're attempting.
He's plotting too. Got Khan over there talking to his own fucking second hand.
To lower her ship.
They're both plotting shit.
He's quite intelligent.
Cause Khan knows he's doing this. Like honestly, like I've seen the scene. I've seen this specific Star Trek movie so many times that honestly, looking at this scene and looking how these two are, especially being opponents back and forth to each other throughout the series in the original series, it's just like Khan knows that Kirk is plotting some shit. He doesn't know what. He knows he is though. And, you know, so that's why when you look, you know, right here, where was it? Right there. Yeah, he's talking with his guy because he knows that Khan knows that Kirk is plotting some shit. Because Kirk knows that, oh, he's going to think I'm just going to give him this shit and just spare my crew. Well, no, I value my crew and, you know, value the people I, you know, am with more so than this motherfucker and, you know, value what, you know, like the, you know, like, you know, at least, you know, my values it with this ship and with the Federation. Well, obviously in merit. Like he violates a lot of the fucking Prime Directive in like so many times it's not even funny. But either way, it's just like, and you know, it's like both of them are plotting some shit because both of them know that they're essentially like too smart for their own good, basically. Like they know fundamentally that, oh, if I just let him, you know, just think that he's gonna, give this codes to me? Oh, of course not. He's gonna, start some shit, so he's gonna try to prolong his survival. So we'll, keep playing the cat and mouse game. Let's see what he'll plan, and we'll go from there. Like, that's what Khan's thinking. That's what he's talking with his second mate, basically. Or I guess it would be his first mate.
Khan.
That's what I love about this back and forth, because, I mean, honestly, like, and also notice how both of their fucking first mates are gone. Spock left off for a second, and his first mate left for a second. So it's just like, honestly, it's like, you don't really know what Khan is, plotting and thinking, but you just know he is. And you just know that, like, as the movie continues to go on, you see it unfold, but, I mean, it foils, for him at the end of the day. But either way, oh my god, I love this scene. I love this little first battle. It's just such, it's so good.
Oh, I've given you no word to keep back. In my judgment, you simply have no alternative.
In my judgment, you have no alternative. Yeah, he does.
I see your point.
I see your point.
Stand by to receive our transmission. Sync lock. Phasers on target.
Phasers on target.
Phasers locked.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Now.
Force their shields down.
Our shields are dropping.
What? Raise them!
I can't!
Honestly, I love how you barely tried.
Override. The override!
There's the override. Too late! Ooh.
Fire! We can't fire, sir! Why can't you? They've damaged the photon control and the warp drive! We must withdraw! No! No! We must!
Oh, shit! About to ram him! Nope. Ooh. She got fucked up. The warp drive got damaged. We kind of lost some engine control of that. Drifting off now. Ooh. Both got some critical hits.
Sir, you did it. I did nothing. They caught my britches down.
Caught my britches down.
See now. Mr. Savick?
Humble
You're
captain.
Right on floating regulations. Meantime,
We'll slay every pussy in the galaxy, but still humble. Uh-oh. Lieutenant Scotty. Lost one of his brethren in the engineer room. Ooh, look at that damage. Got all fucked up. Ooh. Ooh. Man. 20, Carl. Oh. I mean, shit, honestly, if you're only 20, I mean, fuck. I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily blame you for not necessarily being, seeing any Star Trek. I don't necessarily blame you for that. But, I mean, like I said, though, for, a really good Trek to introduce yourself to, the second movie, The Wrath of Khan. Oh, that one's, the one to check out. Yeah, officially I have none. Yo, Carl, I knew somebody in 6th grade that was growing a beard. Like, I'm not gonna, I know, I knew the dude for, like, the longest time, and actually, he ended up being a lawyer, and ended up being part of, like, the Libertarian Party and shit. And the last time I heard, he was, like, literally hanging out with people like Rand Paul and shit. So he's probably, like, doing some pretty interesting political stuff. But he was always, like, this big, like, metalhead, and, kind of like a, like, always into, like, kind of gothic, type of aesthetic and shit like that. It's actually kind of a cool dude, but definitely a full-on weird libertarian type. And, I guess despite, his background, of what he's doing now, I mean, I guess, more power to him, I suppose. Actually, I haven't heard from him in years, so I honestly wonder what he's doing now. I still have absolutely no picture at all. You probably just, honestly, I mean, if that's the case, you probably either have, like, genetics where, like, fish hair comes in hella late, or, you know, you probably just, like, you know, just don't have the genetics for it. I mean, there's just some people that just don't. I mean, I'm about to be 25, and my fish hair is splotchier than shit. I mean, look at this shit. Splotch. Like, the only thing that isn't is this now. And this, but it's like, there's not much. See? Splotchy. This side's like a little bit more thicker than this side. Splotch, you know? So, it's just like, I mean, don't feel too bad, man. I wish I had a lot more thicker shit going on. Because honestly, I want to get like the, let this shit go out like this far out and have this just kind of come down. And let this be like, you know, nice, short, but like, you know, kind of thick and gristly. At least when I scratch, you know, around here and shit, it's just like, hey, kind of feels nice to scratch. Let's see if I'm right. Well, I guess you have the genetics for it. If you haven't grown any at all yet, when it comes to fish hair, chances you probably won't. And if you don't want that, well, your genetics have basically made it so you don't. So there you go. Probably won't have any. And if you do, it's probably just going to be like fuzz at most at that point. Which would be easy to maintain anyway. Because my shit was fuzz for the longest time, and frankly, at least especially my hair being blonde, like any fuzz that was there was very much like the equivalent of pretty much be transparent. So it was never noticeable. So if you have like a little fuzz going on, I mean, that's probably not even going to be noticeable. It's short that picture, so it's probably looking like I have more facial hair than I do. That's probably fair. I know, at least especially on my sides, I probably do a little bit, because I just have like a little bit longer hair, and especially at least for the sides, I've kind of let grown out a little bit. I'm letting like the back over here grow out a little bit more. In fact, a lot of the hairs that have grown out are actually starting to stick with the ponytail back here now. And I'm starting to be half tempted to maybe go mullet status, because there's actually like some hairs that are, yeah, like some of these like shit that like, of course, when you brush, like, you know, this is gonna happen sometimes, like they're about yay long. I don't know if I want to actually make it that long in the front and just let it stay a little bit long and maybe trim it, maybe like down to here or something like that, and go like pompadour mullet status, because honestly, I've been considering that. I mean, I've never, like, just shot for it, but I have considered it, and honestly, the more, like, because more and more, I'm seeing people with mullets around here. Like, it's starting to literally be, like, a hair, like, style that is coming back. And it's making me kind of want to, like, you know, go pompadour mullet status, because I've already been thinking about that anyway. But if I do that, I'm actually going to go to a hairstylist and be like, I want my, especially the back of the hair to still be pretty long, and I also want the front to be kind of long, but I want like a pompadour mullet. Like, you know, can you do that up? And also, while doing so, what type of tips and tricks, you know, could be used to kind of keep it, you know, good looking and shit. You know, so I can kind of maintain it. You know, and, you know, just kind of go from there, basically. Because over time, I want to eventually, like, you know, let all my hair be even again. But, you know, overall, I think a pompadour mullet would be kind of a good way to eventually do that. Because, you know, the hair would be more shorter in the front, and also the back will be a little shorter. And with that, we'll eventually, you know, let things kind of grow out a little more evenly, and I can just kind of trim them as that happens, you know, over time. Hair's long now, but it's about halfway down on my back. That picture is after the last time I cut it. Oh, damn, dude. Yeah, I haven't cut my shit in years, honestly. Like, this shit, like, if it was, like, all the way down straight, like, it would probably be, like, my mid-back now at this point. And the only reason why initially I did this shaved size was just for easier maintenance. Because, you know, less, you know, knots, you know, to brush through, less hair like being pulled out and all this other nonsense. So I mean, that was more of the initial thing for it, but eventually I kind of actually liked the overall style for it. And then I kind of thought, you know, like, you know, maybe a year in of having it, I was like, you know, Papa Normal would be kind of cool, but, you know, I never committed to it, obviously, but over the year, you know, over the year or so that I've had the style, you know, I've been considering it more and more. Might shave the sides. I saw an Old Faith and No More video where Mac Patton had his hair shaved on the sides and looked dope. Came back on stage playing concerts and it's annoying me. Yeah, I need to get to a point where I can actually do some concerts and shit. Or at least, like, you know, busk a little bit and do some of that shit, like street performances and shit. Because I could definitely do that type of stuff for show. But here, I gotta go to the bathroom really quick, doing a little bit of a pepe dance, but I'll play some music in the background here. Of course. Anyway, I'll be right back, yo.
Hey, baby. You sweet little boy. You get anything else? Come here.
For all the guys with Long Hair Club, a 10% discount on any purchases of shampoo or conditioner. I wish that was the case. Well, just a good boy. You don't give a shit, do you? Really? Goofball, oh my god. You goof. Look at you. You blitzed out, little son of a bitch. Oh, look at you. You're so cute. Oh. Look at you. You're so cute. You guys have a long hair. This is, oh yes, Samson. What now, bitch? So you check now, tell me, say love it, or leave it, and get beat up if I criticize it. You goof. There you go. What?
But what can just one of us do? It's all that money and power trying to crush us into
What?
We won't destroy society in a
Huh?
day.
What are you growling at?
Ourselves first from the inside out. It starts by not lying so much and treating other people like so easy not to compromise on how much
Goofball. Oh, I have tea in the freezer. Wanna grab my tea in the freezer? Why you getting frozen? Not really. You have not slushed out into frozenness. Like I wish you would. Son of a bitch! Ooh, but nice and cold. What are you doing? Oi. Excusez-moi, le Francois. Oh, you know what? Let's give me one of these. You're going oh my god, you're going insane. Here. Come here. Oh my god! Whoa! Excuse me! Excuse me! Blah. Whoa! Paw. Give me a paw. Yes, you gotta give me that paw. Paw. Good boy. There you go. You little psycho mutt. Jesus. Patient little bastard. Wait, what's this? Seems counterproductive. If you've never had to participate in sex work of any kind for survival, then I really don't want to hear your thoughts on it, like, at all. I don't care queer, trans, or socialist you are, it's something you really shouldn't speak on if I've had lived experience. What? Okay, this is kind of stupid. This is dumb. The person believes that it's just honestly dumb. Like, as somebody that, you know, frankly, honestly, has known people who have, you know, been sex workers, and also, hell, even I've thought about it, and, you know, will check out content from sex workers. Like, yeah, like, you can be that, you know, you cannot be a sex worker or partake in it and still value their rights and the advocacy and being an ally. Like, what does this person not know what an ally is? Like, what do you fuck do you think that means, dipshit? Like, oh my god, what a moron. Like the whole term of being an ally, whether it's for sex work or like queer rights, trans rights, or whatever the fuck, it's just to be it's just to be an advocate for them. Like, that includes sex workers. Like, oh yeah, like, I advocate for sex worker rights. Well, you're an ally for sex work and shit. Like, I mean, it's like, what does this oh my god. Even if you mean well, yeah, let me scroll. Oh my god, it gets worse. Even if you mean well, there's so much room for misinterpretation when non-sex workers talk about sex trade abolition. Lead those conversations to those who previously or currently are sex workers instead of focus on the conditions that drive us to sex work in the first place. Oh my god, what the fuck? The fact that there's, like, you know, conditions that lead people into that is fucked up, and yes, should be an advocate when it comes to trying to at least abolish the current, you know, aspect of sex work, and in a sense of, you know, its criminality and its, you know, culture of desperation and shit. but just as a sense of, like, you know, expression and, like, the freedom of sexuality and just, like, your, you know, interest of making sex a part of your career and shit, like, that should be an advocacy. Like, I mean, I got no problem with people being sex workers. I advocate that. Like, that should be a thing. Like, I mean, because a part of that, you know, is, you know, at minimal, people like strippers, and at most, people who are, like, straight up prostitutes. So it's just like, I mean, you know, that's why the whole saying of sex work is work is, you know, a thing, because it's literally in the fucking phrase. Like, they're workers too, and if anything, and there's also the phrasing of prostitution is the oldest profession of, you know, known to man, and again, there's a reason for that. Because, honestly, it kind of is. Okay, apply the logic to another profession, like, say, the military. Would you say people who haven't been in it don't have the right to say serious changes need to come from it, even though they themselves don't know what being in is like? Of course not, so why shouldn't it apply here? Yeah, exactly. Like, I've never been into military, but I know people who are veterans who have been to service, and I've known people who have, you know, have gone through boot camp, and I've known people who have been for, like, different spectrums of being a part of the military and shit. And, you know, and honestly, depending on where they are at when it comes to that level of being in it, like, they generally have, you know, like, different perspectives of it, but usually the veterans that, you know, have, like, kind of, like, you know, been there, done that, so to speak, usually have the perspective of, it's fucked, and frankly, you know, I want to encourage you to do it either. Like, they're usually, you know, is that type of mentality. I mean, I've seen that in my own personal experience, and in, you know, hell, even in online experiences too, where, like, veterans online will, you know, encourage others to be like, yeah, look, I've done my fair share, and honestly, it's not as good as you think. You know, if you're in it for, you know, benefits when it comes to things like college and stuff, I get it, but if it ain't that, don't do it, bro. Like, I see that a lot. It's like, you know, because I know there's a lot of people, and even veterans, you know, get it, where some people do it as a way to at least kind of have some securement when it comes to things like, you know, college and having, like, you know, freer or at least more affordable access to things like education and shit like that. So, you know, I mean, that's at least a little more understandable, but, like, you know, like I said, there's even veterans who would, you know, be like, unless, you know, you're doing it for that, don't join the military. Like, just don't. It ain't worth it. I've even noticed this with, like, YouTube shorts or, like, TikToks and shit like that, where if, like, you know, I will get recommended sometimes, you know, because I'll watch, like, gun channels, so every now and then, like, military channels will get recommended too. And sometimes there'll be, like, some random dude who's in, like, boot camp or some shit. And honestly, like, 90% of the time, they're literally all, like, fucking around and not giving a fuck. Because honestly, I guarantee you, most of those, you know, kids, honestly, you know, who are, like, 18, 19-year-olds, basically, they're all essentially just like, yeah, I'm here so I can have an easier access to college and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it just irradiates off of them. I mean, not every single one is like that, but most of the general, like, vibe that comes from a lot of those type of things usually is that. I'm sure a lot of veterans that, you know, have done, you know, their thing when it comes to things like the Gulf War, the Iraq War, or serving duties in Afghanistan and shit, and coming back from that scarred as they are, it's like, yeah, you know, like, I don't blame them for discouraging people from joining. Like, unless you're, like, you know, some random bloodthirsty sociopath yourself who wants to have, like, more people like you and shit. I mean, you're not exactly going to be, you know, encouraging people to, you know, like, go out of the way to do it, you know, for some sort of patriotic duty or whatever the fuck. Plus, you can't really make it more accepting to mainstream if you don't let them talk about, like, isn't the whole point of sex work advocacy to make it more accepting? Yeah. I mean, that's why there's, you know, things like stripper unions that are being formed in places like in fucking North Hollywood, LA, in California. Like, I mean, the fact that, you know, there's more normalization with things like sex work is the reason why things like, you know, unionization and labor advocacy and collectivization in places like, you know, in industries that you wouldn't think of. Like in the gaming industry, when it comes to gaming development, or when it comes to sex work, like when it comes to strippers and shit. I mean, it's just like, we're seeing industries that usually no one would probably ever think would, see, the, labor movement, be hitting, or at least, have that impact on. But yet, here we are starting to see that. Military members tend to be more left-leaning than cops. Yeah, or at least apolitical in nature, because I definitely have a coworker, my assistant manager actually, who was a veteran, and also for about like 2 years was a cop in the Portland Police Bureau. And honestly, he does have some conservative-leaning views for sure. At least mainly on things like when it comes to like women, or like, like maybe femininity, masculinity, like social views like that. But it's not like, this hardcore, like, fuck women, they need to be property type of mentality. Definitely not even close to that. Like, I will put that out there at least. But, like I said, he has at least, like, kind of like soft social conservative views, overall. But he definitely has, especially when it comes to things like the military, some economics, workers' rights, environmentalism, actually has, some pretty pro-environmental, not pro-environmental, pro-left-leaning views. I mean, well, also pro-environmental, but generally left-leaning views that, are like pro-environmental, anti-war, anti-military, industrial complex, establishment-leaning, against capitalism. He critiques that a lot. But also critiques, like, a lot of leftist ideas like socialism and shit like that. Oops. And, so, like I said, he definitely has, like, a conservative lean to him, but he's more of, like, a libertarian type, overall. And, I mean, and despite that, though, like, I think a lot of, his service of being in, like, the military, and also for a year or two being, like, a cop and shit, and, a lot of his own experiences have kind of led him to realize a lot of, like, what the country really is. Which has made him, like, this more apolitical, jaded person, more so than, like, political dialogue overall. So, I mean, if anything, he's more of, like, a political drifter. Because, I've noticed, at least lately, his ideas have been more left-leaning over time and shit, and I think, me and a few other coworkers and former coworkers in the past have probably have influences on that type of shit. And, and I think, a lot of that is just because of just how shit is right now. I mean, because because I definitely know one part of it is he thinks that, like, like, both extremes tend to be pretty ridiculous, and, he has more of a mentality of, like, why don't we just go along to get along and just kind of talk it out, instead of being like, fuck you and try to cancel each other and shit like that type of stuff. Like, like I said, he's a little bit more, like, libertine with his ideas and shit. I mean, I guess not like a full-on, like, American libertarian type, but, like, kind of a little bit. Again, like, kind of a apolitical kind of drifter type. Like, he doesn't really have, like, a set ideology, really. And honestly, he's not the only one like that. Like what? Like, half the fucking country's like that. I mean, at least practically half the country. I mean, so it's like, I mean, most of the country is really, like, people like him. Yeah, maybe they're conservative in some ideas, left-leaning on other ideas, but kind of politically jaded and, know the system's kind of fucked and don't see a point in it. So they just kind of drift from different ideas or another depending on what they're most influenced by at the given time. I mean, that's honestly why you get, like, people that tend to eventually get radical on things like, far-right fundamentalism and shit like that. Or, and also, like, maybe leftism and progressivism too. Because, people, are trying to find, like, more of an answer, so to speak, when it comes to a lot of their jadedness. Which, obviously, depending on who's giving them the answers, I mean, that could either be for good or for worse. I mean, but considering things now, seems like, probably would be a little bit for worse, but that just kind of also depends on where you live, too. Like, where I live, it probably would be for a little bit of the better, but at the end of the day, there's still going to be problems, and also the rest of the country probably wouldn't fare well either, so. Which I care about, too. Because just because I don't necessarily live in a place like in Arkansas or Texas or shit, doesn't mean I care about the plight of the average person there, too, just as much as here. And globally, too. God damn it. Piece of shit. There we go. Fucking hell. Clogged like a motherfucker. Booba, what are you doing? Man, you're going like literally balls deep on the licking here. Yeah, hey. You already ate one of those rawhides? You know what, here, I'll give you one more. Just to make you stop doing that. Seems I don't know how many military members vote for Bernie or Biden compared to cops who pretty much all vote for Trump. Yeah, I honestly, I find it, like, because one thing I know that some lefties will do is that, like, oh, it's kind of like a pipeline of military vets who become cops and shit, which, I mean, to a degree is true, but, I mean, I think, honestly, a lot of the reason why that is because cops, I mean, especially considering their mentality, are basically like, oh, well, I very much didn't make it to the military, so what's the closest thing to that? Being a cop. You know, because I don't have to do as much training and as much, like PT and all that type of shit and go to, like, a full-on fucking boot camp or whatever the fuck, like military guys would have to do. Like, and pretty much I get the same equipment, outside of full-on fucking, like, tanks and Predator drones and shit like that. Like, outside of those things, like, I pretty much get the same tech and gear that they do. So, honestly, I think that's why there tends to be a lot of shift, because, like, a lot of people, especially these days, that tend to go for the military, it's like, usually, like what I said, usually there's, a lot of young kids who are going there to try to, I mean, like, even I was the same way, where, I would try to go there for, using it as a easier way to get education, or, like, get different benefits I can have, when it comes to, like, federal government benefits and shit. Because, honestly, even for high school, even when I started having skepticism in the military and shit like that, and wasn't really thinking about joining, I still had the back of my mind of, like, well, at least, I get a free ride when it comes to college and stuff. I still had the back of my mind of that. So I was just like, I mean, and honestly, like, and that's why, like, a lot of military recruiters to go to places like in high schools and shit, because there's a lot of kids that usually will have that in the back of their mind anyway, and when they're there, that just, like, pushes that more to the forefront and makes them consider that a lot more. And especially for, like, freshman and sophomore, yeah, I was considering it. I mean, hell, for, like, most of my childhood I was, because I grew up watching all the fucking tanks and troops going through Iraq and Afghanistan and all that shit, and of course the media painting it as, like, us being the freedom-fighting patriots and all this garbage. Growing up as a naive little kid, you're gonna think, ooh, I want to be that. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, it was basically just because of, the era I grew up in as to why I, felt the way I did about it up until, like, the last couple of years of my, life and education, at least. When it came to high school and stuff. Which, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm glad I fucking didn't. Because even if I did, like, some shit like National Guard stuff or whatever the fuck, I mean, ugh. I mean, there would still be the off chance of, having to deal with, like, some bullshit that, frankly, I just wouldn't want to deal with. Even with the bennies. It's like, because, yeah, maybe the benefits would be nice, but, like, at this point, I mean, I definitely would be too old in my mind, to, like, consider that. That's right. Just fuck that. Like, if I was, like, 19 still, I probably would, still have that as the back of my mind thing if I decide to really consider it again, but at this point, fuck that. Besides, I mean, it's like, considering how things might be in Sable, I wouldn't want to necessarily be a National Guard guy drafted to fucking, you know, quell a bunch of protesters or some shit, when I might actually, chances may agree with them and want them to do that. I wouldn't want to fucking press that shit. I know an Israeli military vet who's a cop now. Wait, like a foreign military vet of the Israeli IDF, like the IDF, became a cop, and besides being somewhat conservative because of his religion, he's actually a decently intelligent, nice, calm, reasonable person, and that's coming from me, who I fucking hate cops. Oh. Well, maybe, honestly, it's probably because, like, it's the IDF that usually does a lot of the fascistic apartheid in Israel, so the average cop probably doesn't have to deal with a lot of that shit, because it's not their, like, jurisdiction, so to speak. I mean, that's probably why. I mean, I'm taking a hunch. I mean, I'm assuming that cops in Israel probably also fuck with Palestinians and work in tandem with the IDF, but chances are maybe he wasn't a part of that, and it wasn't part of his jurisdiction, so he got trained a little differently. I don't fucking know. I mean, I'm just taking a hunch. A little interesting, considering he's an Israeli military vet, though. But if he's a military vet, though, he was in the IDF. So he... See, what the fuck? Okay, I see... Okay, well, I don't know. Man, that one kind of fucks with my brain a little bit. He was a Southern California cop. Huh. Well... I mean, you know, honestly, he might have been, like, you know, nice, calm, and reasonable, and intelligent, but honestly, it's just, like, chances are he probably isn't necessarily that much better than the rest of them. He's just a little bit more smarter about keeping it on the DL. I mean, if he's in the IDF, chances are he partook in, you know, direct apartheid himself. So... I mean, he probably knows a thing or two about keeping it on the DL, you know, to keep it nice and squeaky clean, you know, record and shit. I mean, maybe I have no idea. Like, I mean, if he was like a cop even in like Israel or some shit, I could probably see maybe like, you know, benefit of doubt, but it's like, man, what the fuck? Party IDF probably likely partook in apartheid directly himself as well. Yet an actually like reasonable cop somewhat. Got Israel military really quick because there was fucked up shit going on. Oh, so he's one of the veterans in the Israeli military that was like, wait a minute, I don't want to partake in that shit. I'm getting out. Okay, I actually have respect points for the guy. Do you disagree, asshole? No one asked for your opinion. Don't badmouth me. Don't backmouth me, bitch. He was a young kid at the time he joined. Fresh face, and probably thought, oh, you know, I'm probably going to serve my country well. Realized that he was, you know, literally probably having to, like, round up civilians and children and fucking practically partake in human rights violations and war crimes and shit. And he was like, wait, I didn't realize this is what I'm signing up for. Fuck that. And I guess despite being conservative, I can at least respect that, you know, he realized what he was probably getting into and got the fuck out. So, that was good on him for that. I mean, that's why I don't necessarily, like, outright disrespect, like, military veterans from the just surface, you know, of them being a military vet, because a lot of them usually, you know, tend to realize, like, oh shit, you know, you know, like, what did I sign up for? You know, a lot of, you know, veterans tend to realize that, you know, shortly after their service, and, you know, especially once they start realizing their friends, you know, are dying, and, you know, especially when they made, you know, being out in the field and stuff. I mean, my assistant manager, you know, being a vet, like, he never himself went out into the field. He was more of, like, you know, doing, like, engineer type of shit, and, you know, kind of, like, in the reserves, so to speak, in logistics and shit. But he knew friends who were in the front lines, and there was a lot of times where, you know, he would say, like, all right, you know, have, you know, like, stay safe on your patrol or whatever the fuck, and they never came back. You know, it's just like, he knew friends himself directly, you know, who have died, you know, because of a lot of shit that, you know, our government put him through. And he knows it, so you realize how bullshit it was. And there's been times where, you know, him and I have talked about it, and I can really hear that, like, kind of venom about, like, yeah, I was fucking lied to about the shit that we were doing, and, you know, not can, you know, like I said, even though he never really was directly there, I could tell it still affects him. I also have an uncle, 16, it was a 16-year U.S. Military vet, and fought in the Middle East, and is really liberal now. He's gay and also had a military and got screwed out of most of his benefits. Yeah, honestly, especially if he's gay, no, in the military, they, at least especially, you know, up until recently, really, they've definitely been a lot more queerphobic, but like I said, it's been more until recently where that a lot of that's starting to change. I guess with, outside of that intermediate period of Trump where he's like, fuck trans people, they don't get benefits here. You don't sign up for the military in Israel, it's compulsory. Well, yeah, if that's true. It is compulsory. I mean, a lot of countries it is, actually. Even in most European countries, it's compulsory. Which I think is fucked up and bullshit. I don't think it should. I mean, it really should just be, like, volunteer early. Volunteer early. Volunteer only. By the way, what's up, Mordax? If your little bird out into the chat, your little WRX or whatever the fuck Rip City says. You silly boy. You goofy little precious, you. You're a handsome thing. Stop being so handsome, you little asshole. You have no right being that cute. Yep, WRX soul. Didn't scream out of Memphis being gay. He wasn't out at time publicly. It's just some scumfuck shit they did. Yeah. I mean, either way, I'm still necessarily not surprised. Batman got too drunk, so he had to raid out. Ah, damn. What? Oh, you're out of water. Oh. Here, hold on. Okay.
Okay, I'll refill your water. Obviously need some aquas.
You're just bad at this bowl. It's like, there's no water in here. I expect water. How dare you? You neglect me, human. That's abuse. That's exactly what he's thinking. I'm honestly surprised Radman got a little too tipsy. That guy does get tipsy pretty often, doesn't he? Man, I haven't been on one of the streams in a fat minute. They're always fun to just hang out in. Man, fuck you. Fuck you, Twitch. I can at least still hang out in this fucking Discord. I've still been meaning to at least, you know, pop in there and shit. Which actually, that reminds me. Marius, I actually, like, hit you up on a... I know you don't really use Discord that much, but I hit you up on there for, you know, a chance for you to kind of, like, more directly communicate with me if you want. Like, send links and shit like that. Oh, what the hell? There was, like, some... Almost hit me in the eyeball. What the fuck? Fuck you, T. Again? What the hell? What am I doing for, like, a little droplets to, like, hit me in the face and almost my eye? What the hell? Am I... I'm gonna stop picking that up. Oh my god. Gonna have to, like, do what Trump does and just, like... Only instead of like a tiny little glass of water. At least it would make more sense of this. Oh my god, I can't even believe I just remembered that specific goof out of all the goofs that Trump has done. And he's done that multiple times, actually, where he has, like, the little water, and he's, like, he's holding it with 2 hands. It's like, what are you doing holding a cup with 2 fucking hands? Or a water bottle. It's like, what are you doing, you fucking goof, you foo-foo. You absolute foo-foo fuck. Like, what are you It's like, what are you doing holding, like, a cup with 2 hands? I mean, why? Like, are you just that, like, weak in the arms or something? Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck, man? Diaz, man. Dude, Trump's just a fucking full malarkey jack, let me just tell you. Listen, fat. Listen, fat. Donald Trump's just full malarkey. Alright, take me behind the gym with a rusty razor blade and show him what's for. Oh my god. The comedic, like, upset. Like, people are gonna look at Idiocracy, man, and be just like, look at that shit and be like, damn, I wish we had that. Like, people are gonna start looking at this era and be like, damn, I wish, you know, Idiocracy was, you know, more like this instead. Because, oof. Because at least on certain levels, I feel like the people in Idiocracy are actually more intelligent. Like, they were dumb as fuck, and that's saying something, though. Like, at least on certain levels. Like, I mean, we're not to the level of using, like, the equivalent of Gatorade for irrigation yet. But we're pretty much, like, getting there. So, it's like, I mean, you know, it's not exactly how the Idiocracy predicted it, but, you know, like, kind of. State aflame. And get back to Discord more often. Yeah, same here. Because I actually need to, like, hit up TJ, the Mainstream Atheist, on Discord, because I actually hit him up on like, one of those, Streamlabs donations, being like, hey, how would you feel about, like, you know, maybe, have it, like, next time you do a desktop stream, or, you know, when, free time when you're doing one of those, maybe call up on Discord about, like, you know, like, unionization, labor, and history of that type of shit, culturally and otherwise and stuff. Because I know he doesn't really know that much about, like, you know, labor history and, like, all the ins and outs about it, and especially with my more direct experience, you know, being within the union, being rank and file myself, you know, being especially a major fan. I think, you know, probably be a good opportunity to, you know, not just, you know, get myself out there, but also, you know, kind of, you know, get a little bit more knowledge of that type of shit out there too. Not like, you know, I'm the only voice doing that. There's, you know, a lot of different outlets and a lot of people out there at this point, especially, you know, pushing that, which just obviously makes me happy. But, you know, just to be like just another, you know, small as it is, you know, another little voice to that, you know, hey, doesn't hurt. I was trying to watch Black Mirror recently and it doesn't hold up because of how bad shit is gotten. Seems tame now. I've never seen it. I think my mom got into it for a little bit, but then fell out of it. Because I only, you know, heard about it like a couple times before from her, and that's about it. Spring Congo, I know California is at least like 30 to 40% of our homeless veterans. I bet if I looked at data about homeless people in Portland, I'm pretty sure, or just Oregon in general, I'm pretty sure statistics wouldn't be that much different. Like, I mean, I don't know what the national statistics are, but I'm pretty sure, like, the average of that is probably the same, isn't it? Like, 30 or something percent of, like, homeless people are veterans or some shit, like, just nationally. Which that in itself is pretty much a disgrace, let alone in any state. I don't have too much in here. Put some background music up here. Yeah, here we go. Cool. Silly boy. Hey, Goof. Oi. Quit tonguing yourself. Stop it. Oi. I'm gonna like... Stop tonguing yourself, you little weirdo. What's wrong with you? It's just... Oh my god. Yeah, are you gonna quit it? Yeah, quit doing that. Like, stop it. Weirdo. What the hell? Oh, wow, he looks at me and then he just goes right back. He stares at me for a while. And he just goes right back into it. He just doubles down. You disgusting freak. You little freak. You know that? Man, and I, as a furry, thought I was a freak, but no. Sukov, honestly, you know, showing himself to, you know, over, like, what is it now? I had him since, pretty much at the end, pretty much since November. No, not November. October. Yeah. Okay, so October, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 8 months. Over the 8-some months, with his little furry ass being like a year something old now, he's just shown that he's a little bit more of a freak than I am. Like, you're still at it. What the fuck? Like, he goes after his peaches. He'll just, like, weirdly eat himself out. Like, he just does some weird shit. It's like, what the fuck, bro? It's like, you're dead-ass more of a freak than me, dude. Like, how is this possible? Wow, he moved on the ground just so he can get in a better angle. Bro, I don't get him. I don't understand this. And I know he doesn't have any, like, digestive issues. I mean, yeah, I always make sure to at least, you know, every now and then check up on his poops, you know, make sure they're okay. And they're fine. So I know he doesn't have worms or nothing. So it ain't that. He just does this. I don't get it. Why? Stop it. You're nuts, dude. Why are you such a little freak? You're a little kink freak, dude. You're fruitcake. What do I do with this mod? What do I do with him? Okay, he's at least moved on to, like, a leg. I guess he's grooming a leg now. He's doing what a cat does. Like, you know how, like, a cat will stretch your leg out and shit? Like, he's not doing that, but he's basically doing the equivalent of that. Like, I mean, like, dude, oh my god, he's taken the behaviors of these cats and emulated them into dog form. That's what I'm starting to realize that's what he's doing. He's legitimately being, like, part cat. Well, I mean, all I know is that before Bandit, you know, too soon taken from us, you know, shit from a goddamn fucking coyote. And, you know, it's like, at least, you know, he's put his wisdom upon Zukov. I could tell that wisdom has been put upon me. Eventually, you'll have the throne of Emperor. But we'll see. We still have a Regency Council going on for that throne at the moment there, bro. You have yet to earn your title. You need to have a kill under your belt. And it would be very grand if you were able to get a coyote for me. But I know you're not going to do that. So we'll start small. Give me a raccoon or something. I mean, I prefer maybe not, but hey, I'll be okay with that. Honestly, get rats and mice. We're gonna need a new hunter for those anyway. Bandit was good at keeping them at bay. But now we're gonna need some of that. You know, we're gonna need someone to fill the role. Because I can't really exactly do much. Like, if I leave poison or traps, like, other critters are gonna get into that, and I don't want that, so. It's kind of why a cat is, you know, probably alright. You know, when it comes to at least partial outdoorness. Keep the mice and rats at bay. Which is why you need to fill the role, baby. Yes, yes, yes. But you're not gonna do that. You're too friendly for your own good. You're a goof. You're a flop. You see everything as friendly, even though the world ain't like that, bro. You got cojones, but they evidently don't translate into that little tiny brain of yours. Oh my god, look at you, you puppy. You little shrimp. Look at you. You goofball. What a sweet little boy. Too cute for his own good. Too friendly for his own good, too. That's the one thing Bandit should not have passed as wisdom. He was too friendly for his own good. And he passed that to you. You're too friendly for your own good. First thing coyote, you know, like first thing you see when a coyote comes up, you're gonna be like, ooh, friendly, another canine. That's exactly what the fuck is gonna start thinking. Just walk right up to it. And then that coyote's like, free food. Hey guys, look, food walked up to us. I guarantee you that's how the coyotes, you know, did it with Bandit too. They're like, oh hey, we could walk up to this food. Huh. Oh, it swiped me. Oh, this'll be easy. No, Bandit, you piece of shit. Should've been more of an asshole. Little fucker. You're a goofball. You okay with me rubbing your belly with my foot? Really? Wow. I don't even have, like, my boot off. I have it on. Like, this should not be comfortable to you. Yeah, he has taken the wisdom of Bandit, because Bandit was, like, he wouldn't give a fuck. How many times on stream have I, like, you know, have him on his belly and just, like, mess with him and stuff like that, and he just wouldn't give a shit. He'd just be like, ooh. I mean, he was snoop for my shit. I know Mornax has a clip of him fucking snooping for my chick attendees. And I got, like, I don't even know how many pictures of that little bastard. on my phone. There's been a couple times I'll be like, you know, looking for some photos to like pull something up, you know, for maybe like a coworker to check out or a meme or something. And I'll see, you know, hit pictures of him, and I'm just like, God damn it. The vibes start hitting, and it's just like, fuck. It makes me extra protective about, you know, the other cats I got, and him, at least. I'm not really worried if, you know, Coyote, like, at least one shows up towards him, but I know there's at least fucking 3 of them. Like a trio, so... At least, you know, especially there, it's like... If that's the case, I know 3 of them were, you know... the consumers of that, of him. Especially if there's only a head left of him, yeah. Definitely 3 of them got at him. So... And that just means that if I do commit to getting them, it's not just one that I have to go after, it's 3 of them. As long as I can at least wear one of them as a pelt, I'm okay with that. During the winter, I could just use it as like a nice little thing to wear around my neck and on my head, you know, something for warmth. What time is it now? Yeah, it's almost 2:30. I just feel like wanting to grab a bite to eat here, so I think I'll actually kind of finish the last little bit of this bowl and call it good for the night and stuff. Actually, I know there was a couple things I wanted to check out, but I'll just do that the next time. What are you getting into? Oh boy. Let's see what he's getting into too. Anyway, peace out, and of course, I'll be back around for the next one.